Sexy, Ani. Hi. Hahanap pa ako ng pang thumbnail ko. I mean, pang... Palitan natin yung green screen natin. Ano po? Thank you po, Lisa. Ma'am Lisa and Naudi. Thank you. Tagal naman ang na to. Hangin siya. Come on, come on, come on. There you go. Take that off, please. Rotating, rotating. T, B, T, B. Okay. Ayan. Hala. Karag-karag. Karag-karag. Oh, alimango pala, alimango. Tung, 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 pakitong, kitong. Alimango. Good morning po. Good evening po dyan, Ma'am Lisa. Sexy Annie. Sexy, sexy Annie. Depends on the question for the, I am busy now with everything else. Might try some live content the weekend, but not fit Facebook. Facebook is too sensitive. Okay, let's. Bitaw, gisuno ba na namo dito atong pagbakasyon na ho? Puhol makakaon na pugkuana. Kaso taas og cholesterol pud no, lisod pud, delikado. Karag. Palagi mag-live si Mine. Gwapa, lagi ka mag-live. Nag-live day ka, gwapa? 1 hour, nawa, mangko sa, kapag check na ako ganihawa man. Cactus Zach. Hi, Cactus Zach. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Have you eaten yet, everybody out there? Have you have your coffee, your snacks? Please take care of yourself, everyone. Remember, always health is wealth. Dagkuha po ka. Gupo ba ko kapansin sa imong kuan kay nag-istorya mi ni. Istorya mi sa tiguang unja. Dahil nawa ko no sa ka-cellphone. Kung gisapot ko. Samok wa kay palit tag utro kay ano imong giwawa. Pero murag gamay ra na. Kuan ba jagwapa kanang undanon si jagwapa busok. Pero wa po ko kaadyohing daghan og kaon kay ngano katong pag-uli bitaw na gwapa. Agi sigig kaon no nakaramdam ko og lain sa ahong tangkugo, ina na dapita bitaw unja wa na. Kuan gwapa ang og mukaon kag ingon ana og mga lambay kasag gamit og tinidor. Ang tinidor mo oy imong itusok sa kanang ugnay bangag ba unja kuan ra kanang itulidyok ra gamay sus dali ara mawagtang gwapa oy ngana nang pagkaon na gwapa. No, adyo gamitan ang ipon lagi katong tinidor. Next time, og mukaon ka bisag mga lambay bitaw. Tinidor mo itusok sa tunga and then tulidyok ng tinidor. Dali ara mo mabuak gwapa. Or di galing, og na-plies, og nga na mga dagko. Pero, tinidor ay among gigamit, anak man, permi, og mga umig mga yun, anak, tinidor, rajod. Oh, sa bagay, pero lami po din, anak, wapa, labi na ng kasag. Sus, kanang lambay bitaw nga sa dagat, kanang salt nga lambay, ko lami, aga pa, oy. Daghan mag-ingon ana. Adyo, so wayi ko pa next time magmukaon ka gamit og tinidor, di ba mawangi-wangi naman na nato no. Unja tusok ng tinidor. Unja sabay wangi, dali ara oy. Try ngana, di ba? Mayong kagudi ay tinuod. Ngala na sekreto go pa. Mukaon kag ingon ana. Da kay arang pong kalisod po og paakon Ma'am Lisa di ba unsa labi na atong mga ngipon nga kanang veneer na agong ngipon ana so naglisod ko lisod gazud po di ko paak og ingon ana Ma'am Lisa kay dili man naman good healthy agong ngipon na sa nga mga nagkatiguang na ta ako sa akong kabahin dili na healthy ang ngipon fake na ning ubang ngipon kung si kabuok veneer na ni. Pero truthfully no, og ako'y kanang pangadyoan og advice. Speaking og ngipon no kay paak-paak man kuno ang imong madyo kay ligon pa imong ngipon. Og ako'y pahatagon og advice og mo prefer ka og let's say postiso nga kanang denture bitaw nga full teeth or bisan og portion ra sa among ngipon og veneer ug unsa pa na diha mas gusto pa naho ang denture kay ngano ang denture matangtang imong mahugasan toothbrushan ang veneer or false teeth nga uban puwera sa postiso lisuda kay time consuming kay dasirit ka pa ang imong mga anang kanang bitang water pick bitaw nga ipadasirit sa sud kay di jud mawa ng mga gipang kauna to mahibilin gajud og naay veneer kay nabajay portion sa atong kuan nga kanang hollow by space na. Wala maadyo ka congrats nimo Ma'am Lisa oy. Ako dili na ang akong atubangan lig umora ni kuan pero nana poy murag gamay mo bangi aw sing nani gibang. Wa na ni, veneer na ning mga ngipon Ma'am Lisa. Na ni kuan. Mukaon maghapon ko pero dili na ingon tanto gajud. Mo nang dili na kaya pa ako na ko kuya ang gahian ng mga alimango man na si Ja. Oh okay pa og madaw og pasta. Why problema? Pero di na madagpasta go pa. Di na ag-aho gud no naka-decide ko og ahong ipa veneer na kay ngano. Mahadlok man ko og pasta kana bitang i-drill na bitaw na atong ngipon, mag-drill na no unja. Agi ngiluhan ko bisan og nay anesthesia. Ngiluhan gihapon ko kay mo suot gihapon sa ilaw mo nang talawan ko na nga ng anesthesia. Mana ingon ko sa ang doktor pag kuan nga magpa-veneer na ko. Dili ko ganan na nang magpa-denture diya og matangtang na pud ng pasta. I mean di ko ganan ng pasta kay og matangtang na pud. Ha. Sakit ra ba? So mo to nag-decide na lang inja. Syempre kita pud si Jano kay kanang veneer mas mahal kaysa postiso. Isa veneer na lamang ka kay murag moy in karon sa veneer ko kay kaguwang daghag mamilit manuksok. Magdugay pa ka arang ka very time consuming og hygiene ka na kay imo pa gyud pasiritan og daghang pasirit anang water pick usa nimo toothbrush na pud usa Gani ako jud pag kuan ho di ang ko di na gusto na hoy pa clear na ni kay samok ng bunot-bunot oy arang ka mahal ra ba kaadyo diri ka jud og kuan kung ang ngipon ang denture bitaw na model arang mahala mo nang magpahimo ka na one time lig-on na pero kining hang veneer diha ni sa Pilipinas sa hong dentist doktor di mi pahimo diri sa kuan oy Canada oy mahala bisan ka ng mga taga Canada mga to sila og Mexico magpahimo sa ilang mga ngipon naliman gug kano usara ka ngipon diri ha og magpapustiso ka mo worth og kanang $1,000 kapin ang pahingo ra galing diri sa usa ka ngipon go pa last time nagpahingo ko $600 pahingo ra na ha pila naman taon na $600 oy like 25,000 pesos pahingo ra kaguwang gani amping jud sa mga ngipon laayo way ngipon oy ma-deform ang atong nawong ug way ngipon di ba Ma'am Lisa no sorti kaadyo ka ma'am kay ligon nimo ngipon ampingin na ligon na kung ngipon sa una pero pag panganak na tinuod ay gadyo na ang ayaw din nato makuan kay yellow man po yung ngipon hilig man ta og mga pagkaon og mga seafoods unta pero mga bigay man gihapon oy hala gabiin lang dako dia sa Pilipinas salamat sa inyong mga pa-BJ okay ra ko diri ma'am Lisa gwapa okay ra ko diri gwapa salamat kaadyo Diyan na po din naon dyan. Dapat dyan na po doon. Kuan na. Pasok na. Ay, Friday na! Grabe! Dali sa panahon, oy. Parang kailan lang. Oy, thank you. Happy eating ko pa. Nawa na ko makasilip sa imong live. Isilip man ko ganiha. Padong ko uli. Kung nga nawa man mag-live si mine. Unja ingat to ko ni ani, yung pagaling ko ni ani nga hi sexy ani. Silip na pag kunin mo kuha man, hasa naman ni si Jack. Nakalimot na ko kay nag-istorya ming tawag ang Michael kay nawag cellphone. Kunawa na. Hala, Bernice, nadali sa panahon. Hala, excited na kumuuli. Gwapa, ag inyong bag, bitaw. Ako nang ipada ni Bunso. Asa man nimo tong nahog, gwapa. Naambot, asa na nahog sa tiguang. Kaguwang. Kadagham lang na sa cellphone, kay napay cellphone sa kanang office, I mean sa sa work phone ba dyan napay personal na mo phone kay kapoy ng maga phone o gamito ng ilang ijang work phone kay daghang interruption madyo na may personal phone gahapon ning drives day ngadto dihay gingadto sa madiparahi di ijang gibalik didto ingon ko nga basig naa sa mga kilid sa mga kuan ko gigamit man nimo ag Corvette gigamit ko ni sa Corvette gitingnan ni sa gilid sa door sa ubos wa ko no ang diyan pong gingat to ag mga truck ni dya wa ko no sayang palit na mo bag-o karong adlaw palit gid bag-o. Hello 13 million people in my house. Thank you sa mga nagpa-BJ dyan, sa mga nakikinig. Kumusta? Okay na agong ubo pa, wa na ko giubo. Kaloy Ginoo, Diyos ko paita po tong giubo oy. Kalagot ning allergy ba? Sige ra kag mag-runny nose galing ka, magbahing ka. So, og mabahing na ka, mo runny nose na. Ang runny nose mo angadto na sa phlegm na, muubo na. Kaguwang. Kuan, ang giinom is Benalin. Nga kay sakit man nagong truth adto. So katong combination dito ingon adto. Na nag self medication ako gapaoy kapon na mga doc pa ko clinic. So sa kay makalimot magug ko ning namo ko everyday nga anti-allergy. Unsa usahay lagi kay kining gahig kalimot ko sa kay mapalya galing kog inom anang ang anti-allergy sa usa ka adlaw. Awa na. Habahing na ko ani ni kag mo nang video na nakapalyahon kay kining panahon lagi weather lagi kay kuan man utro-utro man mi summer na may dire ron gwa pa no pero sige mi og uwan mao ni kanang daghan mi og daghan gihapon mi og wildfire ambot man ning panahon oy parang ka weird ka adyo. Na sinabi mo pagpapa sige rag ihi nag ako galing kaso panty liner pero perminon ko na sa dito sa trabaho na ho na ako sa akong locker na ako panty liner gadyon unja na ako ko reservang panty liner sa bag let's say mo lakaw sige mi og wildfire diri gwapa ambot ba oy unja nagking uwan naman pod mi hopefully nami uwan diri sa city pero ang mga countryside wa man sila siguro gipang uwan oy. Wapa ka nang yung bag ni Eileen tuan na ni Bunso katong pagngari ni Bunso. Muuli si Bunso gwapa karong mid of July. Unsa moagi pa pud na si Jaderi naho usa mo uli na pod. So ag bag sa ihang gipada og una kay daghan na tog bag agkang ako na mo dapuhon kay di pa mao gihapon to makuha ni host no og ipada ni Bunso karon para maka-accumulate og laing sudlanan si Bunso I mean space kay akong gipadaag kang imo ug kang Eileen ug kang Ate Ellie na among koy murag nanay diha sa among subdivision ba so gipada na ho ang ijapon kay ako pong gihatagan ko pa and then naapay dalhon ni Aldric ako pong gihatagan ag fiancé ni Aldric og bag pang graduation gift naapay sa gida so daghan na to sa bag gida unsa plus on top of mga uban pa niyang luggage so ingon siya nga mawag mo na padala sa akin lahat reklamo pag uwi mo na lang sabi ko well yeah pwede rin siguro kasi paano naman so ang uban ninyong mga namo ko yung mga gipamalit mga sinina ninyo kuno hay ni Eileen og ni ate ug ni bunso. Ako na mo daan na unsa mo. Set ra ko nimo og unsa gazug ahong confirm date go pa kay kining ahong nana ko confirm date mo uli no. November kuan man ning ahong calendar. Actually November 4 ko di ana ko calendar go pa. Trabaho pa man ko. Last duty na ako sa work is November 1st unja off na ko sa Philippines November 4th dito. Unja ang November 4th ta mo diri is 6 naman dai mo diha no. Unja kuan pa gud ning ahong flight, wa pa gud ko kuan ni Kuya Bonog ticket kay kuan man gud ning among flight kay kanang kuan mi gwa pa ba barato ra gwa pa pero kanang waiting mi gwa pa og naay bakante kay nga na malaga na mga parents perks privilege ba barato ra gud mi round trip namo nara sa mga $400 ang round trip. Dag ang bitbit ni bunso kanang regular nga duha ka buok 23 kilogram. Unja nagdagdasag pasalubong pud sa mga consumptions uban sa among nani diha sa Dasma kanang sa among conjugal house adto man sa moabot. Aga ko gwa pa dili inig uli na diha sa Pilipinas. Dili na ko mongadto sa Dasma sa conjugal, di na ko mo stay diha sa Manila kay laayan ko diha gwa pa no kay kanang basta lahi na kay ang ahong nani na pud duha ka anak. So lahi na gadyo dili na ko peaceful kaadyo sa bahay diha sa conjugal namo. Kunang di ko ganahan na mo uli. Sukad na nakauli ko naka-experience ko no more. Unsay wa ko ganahi anang bana sa ahong mong nani makalagot hambog mayabang kaadyo. Manang kung adi ko I don't wanna see his face ingon ko. Wala ni gulay na puhon. Bura gusto balag jud na ag among nani og duha ni sa kaanak. Pa o bano na ho ngadto sa Asilago gwa pa kay hatagan ho namo og break no. Unja siguro mo abat na naman si Janaho sa airport. Unja airport from Manila to Tacloban na naman. So mo message ko nimo, oh gwa pa mo diretso na ko sa Silago. Mo message ko nimo ninyo ni Eileen kay ikaw labi na ikaw kay dolo makasapasay Japal mangko gwa pa international. So mo message ko nimo kay ang injong naman ko mga gamay pasalubong ninyo pod mo nang kuhaon na laman nimo diha sa ahong naho sa ahong luggage. Unja mo connect na ko og flight to Tacloban. Di na ko mupudyo sa Dasma. Kay di na ko excited na ko muli ko pa kay aron mahinluan tong among kuan farm. Medyo excited gamay. Oh, salamat po kaadto go pa. Lagi. Unay mo na kadto na naka-set na ho itinerary na ho. Pero wa pa lamang gud ko ka-set og fixed date. Og anus agad naman ko'y date nga November 4 off na pero hopefully makasakay ko dadyon sa PAL. Pero naman po ko laing daghang options, pwede mo ko mo ingon man si Kuya Bon, pwede man kay route na ho nga to og US man kay kanang Canadian passport man ka so why problema. Kuang ko diha gwapa, dugay gwapa. Kanang duha ko kabuwan. Duha ko kabuwan diha, ana ko mag-birthday kay mag-birthday naman po talaga. Ana ko mag-celebrate sa birthday ko nung kay Goldie na ba sa tawa pa. Just ko Ginoo ko, my goodness. So ana ko diha mo celebrate sa Silago. Puhon maloy Ginoo. Dugay gwapa duha ka buwan. Balik ko diri sa Canada sa ang calendar is January 4 pod. Back to work ko January 7 po. So dugay ko diyan ako mag Christmas, mag New Year sa Silago. Diretso na ko kuan. Di na ko mohapit og Manila, diretso na ko flight sa Canada. Kapuyin ko sa Manila gwapa. Sa mukan ko. Init kadyo. Jawa si bunso wa koy kuan At least patong pag-uli na ho before, diha po dagbunso. Pag na ho sa Manila. So, murag naka at least na mo drive ba. Unja, niguli na ho diha kay wa man ko yung kauban. Kung wa, hindi na kumukuan. Init, saba pag gwapa. Nautro naman namong subdivision rong gwapa. Oy, di naman ko ganahan gwapa kay kanang daghan namang mura naman jatig squatter. Oy, daghan naman kaadjong renter. Wa naman gamay naman laman ming homeowners dito siguro nagpudyo. Unja arang daghan ng homeowners. Ay may arang daghan ng renters. Ang mga renter nagkanya-kanya na og paninda mura na gajig squatter. Kusamok ba niyo katong pagulin ho the last time arang kabanha na kaadyon ja. Wa naman kumaanad og naay mga bata gwapa. Unjag among nani gwapa, naay duha ka buok anak. Di ba? Kita ka ng mga usa i-post na ho pero karon wala na ko mag-post, wala na ko kuan communication kaadyo kay. Naglagot ko na ijang bana, arang ka hambog kaadyo ahong gibulja ka na ijang bana. Hambog-hambog ka jati, mura ka jati kuan. Chikinsa. Naglagot ko. So, nakamangno man nga naglagot ko kay hamang i-strike dadyon. Pero wala ko ganahin mo makigistorya. Muna kong ginanang among si Inday. Si Inday gud ko pa no kay very responsible ka dyan na si Inday ko pa. Kaya syempre na naman lagi ba na. Pero nananggid man po na si usa nagminjo sila. Usa ni Jagida ng ijang bana diha sa bahay namo. Paglawag ko ni Jambana gwa pa kay labing katapulan. Nagmaritis na. Paglawag ko kay labing katapulan nun dyan, nagsaligra ba? Kaya ka dyan ang among nani gwa pa no, kay everything, napa na monthly na mo. Buutan na good si Jagwa pa dyan ay mga anak. Ang ako lamang punto nga, kanang dili magsalig ng ijang bana o unsay gihatag na mo nga makontinto na laman ba kay nadyo na sila binuwa na mo gwa pa. Kami pa dili pa napay ang among wifi talagang unlimited pa na among wifi dito. So libre pa sila tanan wa jud as in unya kanay bana labi ang katapulan pagkalagot unsa antipatiko kadto tinubangan kuga pa maning kamot gusto ko paglagot ko pa ambot bisan makabatay sa diri sa live karon I don't care kalaga. Ang baga ka jud naong gwapa no? Mura na siya ka na bang kuan? Kanang hayahay ka jud gwapa. Hayahaya ka jud. Na si Jay tricycle driver man naman lagi. Pero okay na ka jud gwapa bisag kung sa trabaho basta makita mo income, di ba? Unja dili pagaling tarong ng pagtrabaho nila kanang income, I mean. Hello meow Eileen, thank you po. Unja og off as in off ka jud siya. As in, wala siya obligasyon. Unja, one time, tawag ko dito sa subdivision. Nagtuo siguro sila nga homeowners ko gusto maka-access ka jud mino sa mga dito sa pagtawag na gwapa 5 ka tuig wa nila bayari ang monthly dues. Pas kang ulbong kaspa gwapa lagot ka jud kung gwapa. Hi Eileen, salamat. Tawag ko dito nila. And kung sa maning monthly dues ninyo, man ninyo bayari 5 naman din ni ka tuig. Gilimong-limong naman din ko. Pag uli, no, 5 ka tuig gwapa, barato naman gud ang monthly dues na mo gwapa kay, 5 lagi ka tuig. Pag uli na gwapa, bantog ra kay kanang, kuan ka jud ko ba, kanang limited na mo po down time. So, wala na hatagig pansin ng mga ingunana, no? Pero, perting lagutan na pag uli na gwapa nga, iputlan og kuryente me, katong nag-outing me dito, nag-overnight me dito sa Batangas, katong nga time. Uban na ho sila tanan kaya ako lagi silang gi-treat mo pudno nga naman lagi ko so treat mo na ho overnight mi dito kagwang tawag nagamong saligando dito kay na may mga pabahay ang mga tiyo go dito ga pa so dikit-dikit ra mi dito ga pa although corner lot mi tawag na ha inday yung putlan na yung kuri unsa giputlan pag sure mo diha so stay ga pa ang mga past dues na dego pa nagapatong-patong na unja ang mga tubig go pa patong-patong na. Paska. Mo to nakurot nagwala Kuya Angel kay next day mo uli na may kay overnight malagi kunuhay may dito sa nagpahayahay kay first time sa mga bata go pa nakaligo og dagat intang Kalooy. Kaguwang Din ko nga patanawa ko ni mga bills ninyo besos daghan ng bills gwapa. Ako'y nagbayad tanan gwapa. Ingon ko nga wala mo ko'y daghang banha kapoy og pumasko na ko gwapa di naman ko magbanha gwapa lagi. Di ang ginag ang mga anak dere. Og mga duha ka boto in ko kagwang ning mga tao dere na modyo pistot ang nagdakuha ko gibayaran. Dako ko gibayaran gwapa. Pila to ka buok murag almost 5,000 sa kuryente unja nabayad ko sa tubig 6 months man siguro to basta ko din na mautro ha din na ni mautro unja lately tawag na po ko sa kanang subdivision namo mismo sa clubhouse kay access man ko kay homeowners code me ambot nga sila may nag-consume di sila mo bayad no kay ngano naa naman galing sila yung monthly unsa nagasalig naman lagi sa among monthly nga gamay ra gud po na among monthly gihatag mga 7,000 pero okay na unta ka na ano na libre na ko sila bay. Hindi ka na pagkuka makamaldita. Kalagot ko pa unsa one time tawag ko ingon sa ang clubhouse nga 5 years naman mo makakuan ma'am bayad. Ulbong kas pa gwapa pampihira ko. Unsa? Di ako tawagan hanggi confirm dajon kuyawa pag-iingnan. Naglagot ko pa ka antipati ko ng laki ha. Putad pa kaadyo. Hambog pa tapulang dako nagsalig ra ni Inday. Hanggang nan nga mag-istorya ta ingo man naman na si Jana agjang approach ko pa wa jud ko malipay ingo man naman si pa unsa man day mong issue ate nganong suko man ka unsa ko na yung issue ko okay unsa issue ko Inday mag-istorya lang ko nimo next time kay ulbong kasparon basig unsa yung masulti mo ito nga ang gingang giadyo-adyo na ako kalago. Kuya, wambugan ni mo no unsay yung issue nimo. Unja, ko nga, mana man yung monthly dues nga 5 naman nakatuig. Giing naman ko pa. Adyo kabalaka ana ate kay ako yung bayad ana. Ko, oh yeah, bayad sa tubig. Bayri na. Gusto na makita ang kuan. Nagbayad mo kuan na ate mo ni mo na ko, oh, di ay kuan billing sa clubhouse dito ko yung tawag ko sa clubhouse adyo ko ninyo atika. Og sauna nakalusot mo sa mga bills nga gibayaran. Iniguli ni Aldrich pohon mahuman na ninyo bayad na muli mag-Aldrich next month. Mo na suka dadto gwapa wa na nag istorya siguro mga 3 months na karon. Wa na nag ipang istorya. Wa na ko motawag dito sa bahay bahala mo diha. Kalagot. Oops, ano? Unsa may mga issue ating anong suko man kadyo ka? Adyo kagola na ate kay ahong bayran na. Kahambog ni mo no? Adyo na isulti. Buhata na dadyon. Mo nagwapa mo nang maglagot ko hangtod ko ron. Maglagot na galing ko sa katawag pa maglagot na ko. Ang gina na si Inday. Kanang imong banang punggok. Ug muli magaling ko diha umongan ha magaling ko sa bay. Paadyo sa na diha papoy aha pangatuwa sa na siya mga kagupa og asang dapitan ni mga kagupa diha sa Cavite adto sa na siya diha kay di ko gusto makita ng diyan dagway ako gustong giingnan pagkasong gi-message ko di na ko gusto makita imong dagway og muuli ko diha sa bahay na ako gibasa ra kalagot ko mga irresponsable ka so nagsalig ra ni Inday maluoy na ko ni Inday kay si Inday kanda bako-bako na gwapa mga to na sila gwapa maglaba sa silingan gwapa bitbit agijang naman na sa bunso nga anak bitbito ni siya gwapa one time before mutawag ko Domingo kay off may ako dunig Domingo so naman ko joy time mutawag jud ko na nila basta off ko nagkamulitsing pa ko Inday panudlay unsa anong kay panudlay. So dito mo kukugikan ti naglaba. Kung naglaba ka, gibit-bit na ho ag bunso. Ulbo na po dong kaspay. Kagwang dyan mong bana no. Diya, pag uli na ho dito pa. Sa Pilipinas, muna naglagot na ko. Muna akong ginagawa dyan ina ang mga anak bunbunong Aldrich. Muli ko sa Pilipinas, umuagi magaling ko sa atong bahay. Di ko dyan ko, adyan mo katingaha kay di ko gusto makita na ho ng punggok des bahay. Ha, gani gwapa. Kuryente tubig na lamang gadyo ilang bayaran gwapa og consumptions tanan. Kanindot sa mong bay. Di man gadyo pwede ko kadyo nindot no kay wala man na mo gi Pero at least talagang kuan, basta okay na ka dyan kinabuhi dito. Libre na sila sa bahay, gwapa. Unja, pinadalhan pa namo og 7,000 kada buwan. Ang wifi, bayad na mo ang wifi, gwapa. Unlimited. Kay gitudyo man na nahog nga nay unlimited wifi. Kay anytime mo tawag mga juko dito. Kami, dyan manguli mga bata na ami kanang linya sa PLDT. O diba? Napay pinalitan pa na mo TV dito, napay Netflix ng TV, gwapa. Access na mo diri sa among Netflix diri sa Canada. Mao gani no ana ta magminyog sa nagabisyo-bisyo para ba ng laki, gwapa mo usa pud na nga kapal na mukha, nagabaji-baji ko. Aw nga gusto ki kasalan. Ko unsa ka diha? Baji-baji ka pa, lisod ng galing ka pakaon ining imong duha ka big waist, baji-baji ka pa, kapal ng mukha nimo no. Ako gustong giinang gwapa. Og konsumisyon ra magaling ka og inday na lalaki, gusto niyo yawan permit. Og konsumisyon ra magaling ka layas diha adto na pag hatag konsumisyon ni inday unsa man ka. Kuan man gwapa, labihang uros-uros man ang gugma ni inday. Mao na dili under si inday pero uros-uros kay ngano di man pud lagi siya makalihok og move pa og kanang kuan gwapa kay naa man lagi bata, gwapa ba baby pa manggod kanang nagsugod pa man siguro na siya og preschool karon. So mo na mo nang arang ka pamper ka jud ni dyan ng punggok perting gugma ha mo lagi nang gingon lagi magisgutan ng moderis bay ko perting gugma ha nang usa man tayo si inday taga abagar man ni dyan ang ijang punggok na kalagot paglagot ko pa paglagot ko arang katapulan ka adto naghayahay kasaligran ko hayahayon ninyo kasaligran no susuka dadto nagbayad na si Dog na nagbayad og 2,000 nagbayad og 1,000 dahil nga nagbunbun mamamay di na sila mo padada rin sa resibo adto na di bunbun kay kini si bunbun buutan no si bunbun gwa pa way libog ag aldrek adi man sa aldrek isnab na sa aldrek pero buutan man pod si bunbun istab si bunbun pero buutan kadyo mama may resibo na naman ano ko napala sa utang unja na sila magmayabang og mahuman na unja binuwanan na sila bayad no unsa man na kita pa bayad na lang ilang man Diyos nga ilang man ang sigbin. Hi Manuel, kumusta Manuel? Uy, gwapa, katog na diha, gwapa. Okay na ko diri, gwapa. Matog na po kurang taod-taod. I will be sleeping soon too, maybe in an hour. I'm having coffee. I still have my coffee. A quarter left. Manuel, thank you. Success. Hello, 11 million people watching in my house. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Manuel, hi.
Thank you.
I said, hey.
Manuel, hi.
Hey, hey.
Thank you.
Kumusta, amigo? Kumusta? 12 million people watching in my house. Kumusta po ang tanan? Kumusta? Ano pong balita? How is everybody out there? Hello, hello, hello. Hi again.
Hi again.
Sabay igham, no? Igham, igham. Oh la la la. Oh la 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 la. Ta-ra-ra-ra-ra. Zing. Battery 100%. Hello. Racing each line. What you say? Don't know what to do wherever you are here. Don't know what to say, my love. Always last thought goodbye. Every minute, every second, nowadays I dream of you. All the time. What you say? To be wherever you are.
Sending money home with Remitly is easy. So when you're picking up coffee for the office and remember to send money to your dad, you can send some to his bank account quickly and get right back to business.
You're all set.
Oh, wait, the muffins? Thank you.
Download the Remitly app today.
Projects, because right now it sometimes seems to take forever. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't happen and gets paralyzed. So trying to cut through. That bought the tickets, but when she checked it, there was a typo in her last name.
At the end of my name, he put an N instead of an N. So immediately when we saw that, we emailed him, texted him, he never responded.
It was going through a third-party website called ASAP Tickets. She said after a month of trying to correct her name to Hamilton instead of Hamilton, she was told she could be issued new tickets, but was shocked at how much she would have to pay.
It's going to cost me $2,000 plus. And I said, he said that's going to be a jump of pain.
The tickets were for United Airlines, but the company told CTV News the customer will need to work directly with the third-party booking agency to make changes to their tickets. CTV News reached out to ASAP Tickets. A spokesperson said, "We will not be providing statements to the media regarding this matter."
Hi, Chris.
TICO, Ontario's travel regulator, offers protection for travel services within Ontario. It says be cautious using third-party websites and realize that TICO-registered travel services offer more safeguards in case there's a problem.
Using a travel agent or travel advisor, is there a requirement that the documentation is correct at the time the booking is made?
Hamilton feels the typo was not her fault, and in the end had to cancel the trip.
allergy and dry eye. With a control grid bottle for accurate dosing, Soothe contains hyaluronic acid for soothing hydration and ectrain, which helps form a protective water barrier. Try Soothe.
Black Friday is back at the Brick. Friday, 5 p.m. till midnight. Get up to 40% off select mattresses. Plus, with your purchase, get an instant credit towards pillows, bedding, and more. The Brick and the Brick Mattress Store. The right mattress guaranteed.
Power, precision, performance. The Lincoln Navigator Cup, where golf meets luxury. Who will have their mic drop moment? Duck, Gallagher, O'Dog, Cash, July 1st, only on TSN.
Welcome back. Winnipeg Jets are welcoming a hometown hero back home, Jonathan Taves.
And you led the Hawks to a third Stanley Cup. Does it get any better? No, it really doesn't.
The team says the Winnipeg-born has agreed to a one-year contract. Taves has won the Stanley Cup 3 times with the Chicago Blackhawks in his 15 seasons with the NHL, but has been off the ice since 2023 due to health concerns. Now, the NBA Finals are going the distance as the Pacers forcing a 7th and deciding game. Watch this. The Indiana Pacers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 108-91, taking up the finals at 3 games apiece. This will mark the first time the NBA championship has gone 7 since 2016, and the showdown is set for this Sunday night in Oklahoma City. Canada's national ski cross team is switching things up, trying the summer sport. They're still hitting jumps, just not exactly off the slopes. CTV's Glenn Campbell explains.
Canada's national ski cross team is used to reaching high speeds and catching some air when they're heading down the ski hill. This summer, they've been trying something new to help sharpen their skills. They swapped their skis for a diving board. It's all part of the cross training.
The biggest thing is that it takes them out of their comfort zone. It's safe, and from a sport perspective, it teaches them air awareness. So when they're going off different jumps and different features, this gives them more tools in the toolbox.
28-year-old Jared Schmidt says trying a new sport is a good thing. He thinks it'll benefit him when he gets back to training for ski cross.
We're in the air a lot, we get a lot of air time, so just being comfortable and knowing where all your parts are, and you're not flailing around too much and smacking the water hard, because then you'll probably be smacking the snow pretty hard too.
Jared's sister Hannah is also on the Canadian ski cross team. Being in the water is her favorite thing to do, but she feels getting out of her comfort zone can help her on the hill.
Good, I would say, on my skis and in the air with my skis on, but diving into a pool head first is definitely not my strong suit. I did a little bit of a double swap today. But I think it's good for me to get out of my comfort zone and, yeah, try different things throughout the summer.
Diving isn't the only sport the ski cross team will do this summer. Next up, boxing.
So within boxing, you get that tight quarters, that competitive nature, feeling comfortable being uncomfortable again. So yeah, it's safe, it's different, it's fun, it gets them out of the gym, and yeah, it's great cross training.
Coming up, a violent carjacking caught on camera in front of a school in Montreal. I saw this video. I can't believe it. You may not be able to believe it either, but we're going to show it to you. Stay with us.
Hi, Terry. How are you, Terry? Thank you.
Duck, Gallagher, O'Dog, Cash, July 1st, TSN.
Black Friday is back at the Brick. Stores across
Lunchtime.
Friday to lower prices, then reopen at 5 p.m. First 10 customers in every store will receive $50 towards any purchase for 7 hours only. Get 65% off sofas when you buy the best love seat or chair, up to 30% off furniture, and get free local delivery. Plus, take 48 months to pay. That's 4 years with no interest. Black Friday is back at the Brick, saving you more.
Hi, I'm Patty Levitt-Reed, and if you're a Canadian homeowner looking for retirement income solutions, consider reversing your thinking on reverse mortgages. I've spent most of my career educating people on on how they can make their money work for them. With CHIP, you can access the value of your home in tax-free cash without having
Sounds
to sell
good.
it. And most importantly, there are no monthly mortgage
It's
payments.
Friday.
If you're 55 or older, call now for your free
Friday.
reverse mortgage guide. With CHIP, you can get up to 55% of your home's value in tax-free cash. Take only what you need in a lump sum or over time, with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-833-753.
Thank you, Terry.
Maybe it's time for
Appreciate.
you to consider CHIP too.
Call now for your free no obligation guide. Call 1-833-753-2447. That's 1-833-753-CHIP or visit chip.ca. Call CHIP today and live retirement your way.
Dry hair? You need moisture. Stop. OGX penetrating oil. Fast hydration that goes deep. OGX.
Enjoy your lunch, Terry.
Everybody knows not to drink and drive, but some people still think it's okay to take drugs and drive. Police have the authority, the ability, and the tools to determine if drivers are impaired by legal or illegal drugs. And because drug-impaired drivers can pose just as great a risk as drunk drivers, they face the same penalties, like the loss of their driver's license, a criminal record, fines, and more. A message from the RCMP, Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, and a Ride Alive Drive Sober. those stories leave you speechless. There's growing fear in British Columbia, the South Asian community in Surrey near Vancouver, after a trucking business was targeted in an apparent blackmail attempt, leaving the business riddled with bullet holes. CTV's Yasmin Gandam has the latest on that one.
Major trucking business in North Surrey targeted twice in 24 hours. Just before 4 a.m. on Wednesday morning, security camera footage shows three men dressed in black with their faces covered. They slowly poured gasoline on several cars and smashed the windows before being scared off by a security guard. Then, early Thursday morning, the criminals struck again, firing shots at the business while security staff were inside. No one was injured, but the owner remains on edge. Bullet holes can be seen on the outside of the building. The overnight shooting comes as extortion threats are on the rise, targeting South Asian businesses.
We haven't ruled out the possibility of looking to extortion, whether it might be isolated or whether it's connected to any current or past incidents that have happened in the past 2 years or months. It currently remains open.
This isn't the first time Major has been targeted. In August of last year, shots were fired at his home, and someone called his business demanding money for the Lawrence Bishnoi game. India's National Investigation Agency describes the group as a criminal gang linked to murder and extortion. Premier David Eby is requesting that it be listed as a terrorist organization in Canada. Police are reassuring the community they remain focused on making it arrests.
We want more than anybody to solve these crimes. We want to be able to prevent them, and we want to hold people accountable.
Although there is no known connection to Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the Sikh separatist who was killed 2 years ago this week, police do confirm the owner was from the same village as Nijjar in India. Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Surrey.
All right, thanks very much, Yasmin. We're getting some breaking news coming in from Toronto right now. Police are confirming a 12-year-old boy who went missing on Wednesday fortunately has been found safe and sound. The boy was last seen in the suburb of Etobicoke in the west end of Toronto. Not a lot of details here are available. Police say he's now been reunited with his family. There were extensive searches conducted. Police also set up a command post in the area. But this is the second time this week now we've had good news on a missing child. There was another 3-year-old toddler from the Montreal area who went missing for 4 days. She also was found safe. Federal legislation banning replacement workers in times of legal strikes or lockouts coming into effect today, which means the courier giant DHL will be halting postal deliveries, so take note if you're thinking of using them. Some 2,000 unionized employees locked down by the employer earlier this month after they refused the offer on the table. The union saying its members were forced to respond with a strike. The two sides are still out in their past, so now DHL Canada is saying it's going to shut down its operations across the country, which of course adds a lot of turmoil into the parcel industry. And then the ongoing Canada Post labor
Hi, Vladimir.
getting her
How
diploma
are
was
you?
thanks to a very special guest with four legs.
Thank you, sir.
More explains.
I'm just grateful I can keep a friend, you know?
Yeah.
Because she's like my best friend.
Kenzie Simmons and her horse Blondie are an inseparable pair.
We immediately kind of clicked. As you can see. Loves to bug me, but I love her.
And Kenzie wanted Blondie to be there for an important milestone in her life, graduation day at Simons High School in St. John. Kenzie says she's always had a dream to be able to ride her horse to the graduation stage to get her diploma.
It felt like it was something I needed to do. You know what I mean? Because like, I didn't want to go it any other way. I was like, there's no way I'm going out there with my horse. It was initially a joke, and then it became a little more serious.
Mother knew how much it would mean.
Kenzie is autistic. She's struggled with school very much, especially the last few years. And her whole world is her horse, and her happy place is the barn. That's when you see her smile.
Kenzie and her family approached the school to see if there was any possibility of bringing Blondie to the event. A plan was put together. Principal Jennifer Carhart understood how significant it would be to Kenzie.
However, I didn't really realize until I saw her grinning from ear to ear today, and at the moment she crossed the stage, and I'm just so happy. I'm so happy, which is really awesome. So it's all about the teachers, is giving kids opportunities and watching them succeed and being there to support them.
So on a day when so many of her dreams came true, Kenzie had this message for Principal Carhart.
Thank you, Miss Carr. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting us out there. Sorry.
A special guest making a special moment. The University News of St. John.
When we come back, it's film time on this Friday, and we got the latest from the folks at Pixar. I see Matt Tavares is waiting to join us from lovely sunny Ottawa. We'll get his film reviews in a moment. Stay with us.
Hello, thank you. 10 million people watching in my house. Kumusta, kumusta? Thank you. Don't break my exciting plans for your day. None so far. Just so lazy. Watching news and then
Canadian homeowner looking for retirement
I'm about to crash.
reversing your thinking on reverse mortgages. I've spent most of my career educating people on how they can make their money work for them. With CHIP, you can access the value of your home in tax-free cash without
Hello, Doc Gandang Meow. Salamat po. Duty. Enjoy working, Doc.
If you are 55 or older, call now for your free no obligation CHIP reverse mortgage guide. With CHIP, you can get up to 55% of your home's value in tax-free cash. Take only what you need in a lump sum or over time, with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-833-753-2447.
Maybe it's time for you to consider CHIP too.
Call now for your free no obligation guide. Call 1-833-753-2447. That's 1-833-753-CHIP or visit chip.ca. Call CHIP today and live retirement your way.
Wow, Friday movie time. That was a snippet from 28 Years Later. This is a zombie horror flick with backstory. It's the third film in the whole 28 Days Later franchise.
28 years later, huh?
Thanks, but I'm glad to hear that.
28 years later.
Let's
Where's
move on
no
to something
remote?
very different. New alien adventure by the folks at Pixar.
Yeah, Pixar rarely misses. Some of their last entries have been a little lukewarm. This is their latest offering. It's called Elio, and I also quite enjoyed this one. This is definitely a fan affair. You got a little boy here who's trying to summon aliens. He's having a hard time fitting in. Some of his moves, not so great at moving to the outer world to help him find his place in our world. And when it needs to be human, and the fears and anxieties and joys that go along with it. You know, it's Pixar, so they've got a lot going on, a lot of great messages. You know, the imagination, seeing some of the visuals here, all very bright. I wonder if they're maybe trying to do too much here. You know, I would have liked to spend more time with some of these games and characters, because there's a lot of like really cool characters. Those aliens, as you know, but I'll give it 3.5 stars out of 5.
And last you got Rebel Wilson back in a comedy called Ride Hard.
So yeah, so this one made me say, I will say I don't. When it comes to this one, picture your. The premise here is, you know, picture your bridesmaid is actually a secret agent. Okay, and that would be Rebel Wilson's character. Here's the thing, Todd. It doesn't really work as this kind of comedy, and it doesn't really work as an action film. It's kind of just, you know, janky. Good word to use. Kind of cheap looking at times. And so nothing really works, and it's, you know, a chuckle. Barely past the chuckle test. You're definitely not going to be laughing, but maybe a few ha-has here and there. Otherwise, you know, two stars out of 5 to be generous.
2 stars out of 5 to be generous on Ride Hard. Hey, Matt, great to see you. Thanks so much for this.
Hey, thanks, Todd.
All right, well, before we go, speaking of movies that I should not have seen as an 8-year-old, 50 years ago, the world was introduced to an iconic shark, and people wondering whether it was ever safe to get in the water.
And it flashed his eyes, black eye, down eye.
Yeah, there's Roy Scheider. I saw this movie, it played a lot in the 1980s on television for whatever reason. Jaws, which first premiered on June the 20th, 1975, one of the first summer blockbusters, brought in tons of money, put Steven Spielberg on the map. By the way, also blamed for creating something I have. It's called sharkphobia, and it means you're terrified getting into swimming pools, lakes, and oceans. All right, in a moment, we're covering the very latest from Alberta. We're getting an update from the arsenic there on a rock slide. We're watching News Channel. We'll be right back.
Rock slide in Banff? Holy smoke.
Monday on Good Morning, back to work. Production is expected to resume at Windsor Assembly Plant ahead of schedule, but how long will it last? Start your morning with us Monday only on CTV.
I'm a mystery. Jesse loves playing detective.
But the real mystery is your irritating skin. So we switched to Concrete Gentle. It cleans better and doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
And it's gentle on our skin.
Try Tide Free and Gentle with 100% money back guarantee. It's got to be Tide.
I'm a simple man. Friends, family, and hockey. But now that I'm in my 50s, sometimes I feel like I don't have a lot of choices. But one thing I can choose is how to look after my family if anything happens to me.
Welcome to Senior's Choice, the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. How can I help?
I'd like a quick quote, please.
If you're a Canadian resident aged 50 to 80, you can choose the right amount of coverage for you and your family up to $250,000.
Wow, that kind of money would make a real difference.
You can choose to apply over the phone now in just a few minutes, but no medicals or blood tests needed, only if you help with lifestyle questions.
Okay, that's great.
You're covered for the whole of your life.
Okay,
Plus, you
that's
also get
great.
100% advance for terminal illness.
That's good to know.
Depending on the coverage you choose, it could be as little as $17.02 a month. That's just 56 cents a day.
That's less than I thought. And that money could help cover my funeral costs, settle debts, or help my wife with a retirement plan. I'll do it.
As you get older, it can be easier to have less choices. At Senior's Choice, we're here to help you have a say on your loved one's future. Senior's Choice is the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. Choose up to $250,000
Tornado.
Quebec. Take a look at this video provided. This is Danville, Quebec, in eastern townships of the province, about 2 hours from Montreal. High winds tore through roofs, leaving tens of thousands of people in the dark last night. Environment Canada had issued a severe thunderstorm watch for the greater Montreal area, including the risk of tornadoes, strong wind, torrential rain. At one point, there were about 20,000 power outages in Quebec, thousands of people still in the dark today, and really strong winds in the greater Toronto area last night as well. Now, the government of Newfoundland and Labrador has lifted the evacuation order for the town of Badger, that's in north central Newfoundland. CTV's Ryan Harding is standing by in St. John's, joins me now with more, Ryan, on when people can get back into their homes.
Well, the latest is some good news, which that part of this province has been waiting a number of days for. The evacuation has been lifted, so a lot of residents were moved to the neighboring community of Grand Falls, Windsor, set up in the hockey arena there. And just hours ago, they were told that it is safe enough for them to return to their homes. Now, there's been a lot of contributions from the volunteer fire departments in the surrounding communities, the fire department of Grand Falls, Windsor, but Mother Nature as well. Now, I am 4.5 hours away in St. John's. We do have crews on the ground in Badger who are currently going through the media moves of what is happening right now. We'll be available a little bit later with some visuals from there as well. But in terms of that Mother Nature, it was the winds that came down, calmed themselves down through the overnight, and some much needed rain coming through as well. And when you couple that with the hard work of those fire departments by both land and air, has brought us to the situation right now where that is still out of control in terms of an active wildfire, but in control enough to allow those residents to return home.
All right, Ryan Harding there in St. John's, Newfoundland. Good to see you, Ryan. Thanks for the update on that. Meantime, in Saskatchewan, 20 wildfires, 3 of which not contained. So far, the province with 266 fires this year. As many as 30 of them are being investigated. 2 charges of arson have been laid by the RCMP. The province is on track to have one of the worst wildfire seasons ever. And let's show you what's going on in Manitoba.
This includes ensuring that medical staff are able to return to the community, that hydro is up and running, that law enforcement has been able to be reestablished, and that schools are cleaned and ready to receive students.
Flin-Flon, Manitoba, on the border with Saskatchewan, one of several communities where people are finally able to go home after mandatory evac orders lifted. The number of wildfires, though, is unchanged, 21, 7 out of control. Officials are cautioning lightning strikes could spark more fires in the near future.
Oh my God.
Today's day 8 of the war between Israel and Iran, and so far it has been devastating for Iran. There's no other way to say it. Their top generals, top intelligence officers, top nuclear scientists have all been killed in a series of Israeli attacks, both from the air and operations, covert operations on the ground, drones smuggled into Iran as well. At the heart of it is Iran's nuclear program. The country claims it's for domestic energy purposes only, but Israel and other countries are very concerned that in fact there is a covert nuclear weapons program playing out here. Israel saying that's the reason that it launched this war over a week ago. Listen to this.
Iran is the preeminent terrorist regime in the world. It must not, it cannot have nuclear weapons. That is the purpose of Israel's action, to save itself from the Iranian threat of annihilation. But by doing so, we're saving many, many others.
Israel's Prime Minister there, Benjamin Netanyahu, addressing the media in front of an Institute of Science that was hit by Iranian missiles as part of this conflict. So far, Israel's tried to limit collateral damage in its attacks on Iran, trying to not hit civilian targets. But of course, the big question is, how much longer will this go? And Israel's some top generals have already said that this is just the beginning. They plan to continue to target Iran as much as necessary. European foreign ministers meet time in Geneva, Switzerland, meeting with their Iranian counterpart. The Europeans are trying to find an off-ramp here, some way to de-escalate that. The question is, will Iran ever go for that, or at least right now? Remember, it would want some sort of face-saving way out of this, and if it seemed to be backing down, that would perhaps not go over well with hardliners in the Iranian regime. So it's tricky to figure out how this is all going to play out. Donald Trump has floated the idea of the United States getting involved. So far, it has not got involved directly, although it's widely believed to be supplying Israel with a lot of intelligence. Let's bring in Glenn Ignazio. He is a U.S. military expert, retired Air Force Special Operations Commander. Glenn, good to see you on this Friday. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely great to see you again, Todd.
Here we are, day 8. It has been really, as I mentioned, catastrophic for the Iranians here. Doesn't seem like there's any kind of de-escalation going on, does it?
No, honestly, I think if you look at the Iranian military apparatus, that's been definitely knocked down. And as far as these launches from the Iranian missiles back into Israel, we're seeing damage on both sides. And honestly, I think right now Israel's trying to take those sites out because it's doing a lot of damage within the country of Israel.
I wonder what you think the ultimate goal is here of Israel. They say it's to prevent Iran from ever getting nuclear weapons. But how do you make sure that they do that? I mean, how do you make sure that once and for all that risk is sort of taken off the map, so to speak, from Israel's point of view?
Yeah, well, great question, because, one of the things they're going to have to do is, as they go into this, they've got a lot of intelligence over the years. Israel has the best intelligence with their operatives and so forth within Iran for many, many years. And the idea of being able to know that you're 100%, you can never have 100% validity, that you have completely wiped out their capability. However, the big facilities that are getting them closer and closer to a weapon are the ones like in Fodor and others. And so that's what's been targeted. But you're absolutely right. You got to make sure that things haven't leaked out to other places in the country to be able to shut that threat down. So that is always a big focus.
Do you think your country is going to get involved, Glenn?
We're really on a knife edge about this. I think that right now, that last facility, Fodor, and a lot of people are talking about that, it's so deep. And unfortunately, we have the only weapon, and it's got to be carried by a B-2 that can hit a facility that way. I don't see or really see anything that's more plausible. I don't see a commando raid because it's heavily defended. It's unfortunately the only way that would be taken out. So, what would happen? Is there another method? If there's de-escalation with Iran, that means they would have to open up their entire doors, unfettered, unchallenged, for the inspectors to be able to get to every facility, every camera, all the intelligence, everything. That's really where they're on a knife edge to figure out, can we de-escalate or do we have to attack?
The other thing that's interesting before we go is sort of the way President Trump has approached this.
Thank you. I'm having lunch too.
His career, even before politics, he's raised
Having boiled egg, apple, and
He said, why are we?
So thank you, Terry. Yeah, please go ahead. Thank you so much for your time, my friend.
And on it goes. I know that there are a lot of people in his party, in his base, who are very much against the idea of the United States
Still watching news
whatsoever in all of this, Glenn. So that also adds pressure. They don't believe the U.S. should be
Thank you.
getting involved.
Take care, please.
Yeah, great question, and a lot of facets to this. But one thing is explaining to people the difference between this and
Trump
this
should start acting in
always
Iran
had
within
trouble
2
about how we
weeks.
got in, but we never get out of particular situations, Iraq, Afghanistan. But this is considered to be a tactical strike on that target and that target only. So it would go in, take it out, and extract. No ground war, no declaration of war, and so forth. So the idea is to keep it that much contained. That's the criticality of this operation, and to not get into a war. So war and strikes are two different things. At the same time, all those carrier groups, there's about 3 head in there, are probably more in defensive nature than anything else, because as soon as we do that, Iran's going to launch at our troops. I think that's where we're on the edge. But war and a strike are two different things.
Absolutely. Good to see you as always, Glenn. Thanks for this.
Always take care of yourself.
Glenn Ignazio, U.S. military expert, formerly with the U.S. Air Force. All right, we've got some good news coming out of Toronto this hour. Police are confirming a 12-year-old boy who went missing on Wednesday has been found safe and sound. The boy was last seen in the west suburb of Etobicoke, Toronto. Not a lot of details on this one, but police say he's now reunited with his family. There were some pretty extensive searches conducted. Police setting up a command post in the area, but the second time this week we've had good news in this kind of story. There was a 3-year-old toddler in the Montreal area who went missing for 4 days. She was also found safe and sound. A new police survey is revealing people who live in Saskatoon don't feel safe in public areas. No doubt it's not the only Canadian city dealing with this. CTV's Laura Woodward has more on what's driving concerns and how the local police chief is responding.
People don't feel safe.
A key takeaway from a new police survey. Residents reporting they feel unsafe in public spaces.
I guess it's something that I expect, unless somebody feels 100% safe and secure in their environment, that they can walk about freely and do the things that they want to do without any fear or anxiety,
Unless that's the case, they're going to be dissatisfied.
The SBS gathered feedback from 750 residents. Top concerns include public drug use, a rise in property crime, and homelessness.
Residents express compassion for people experiencing poverty, homelessness, mental health and addiction issues, and are concerned about the lack of resources to help them.
Malls and public transit were identified as areas where people don't feel safe.
There's more that does need to be done in order to make sure that people who are committing crimes can be, not just arrested, but prosecuted. And that has been part of the issue.
Those surveyed addressed concerns about weapons, primarily bear spray and knives. Next week, City Council will discuss the idea of asking the province to better regulate bear spray sales.
What we don't see in the legislation, and I don't know that it's possible to legislate it, is around a transfer of that product after sale and who actually receives it. Was it purchased by a law-abiding person legally, but then transferred to somebody who's using it for a criminal purpose?
Those surveyed want to see more officers on the street and are calling for more town hall meetings to build trust and transparency. Moving forward, the SBS plans to join other police forces in Canada and conduct annual anonymous surveys.
Are we improving? And this will be part of how we measure our performance going forward.
Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
All right, up next, the number of measles cases on the rise. We'll have the latest in a moment. Stay with us.
Tonight on CTV National News, W5 investigates stolen cars disguised for sale.
Tens of thousands of dollars per truck.
Calls to crack down on loopholes you could drive a truck through.
If you don't have someone going out to look, the criminals have essentially carte blanche.
W5 investigates tonight on CTV National News and CTVnews.ca.
At Reliance, we treat your home like our own, saving you time by calling ahead and saving you money by fixing the equipment, not just replacing it. It's how we've earned 150,000 five-star reviews for all your heating, cooling, and water needs.
All on Reliance. It's great to be helping out before my first grandkid arrives. And now that I've had some repairs of my own, I want to make sure they'll be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to Senior's Choice, the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. How can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quote for Canadian seniors life insurance, please.
If you're a Canadian resident aged 50 to 80, you can choose the right amount of coverage for you and your family up to $250,000. You can choose to apply over the phone now in just a few minutes with no medicals or blood tests needed, only a few health and lifestyle questions. You're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, you also get a 100% advance for terminal illness. Depending on the coverage you choose, it could be as little as $17.02 a month. It's just 56 cents a day.
That's cheaper than I thought. I'll do it.
He's going to be named after his grandpa. Senior's Choice are the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. To get a free, no-obligation quote, call one of our trusted insurance advisors today at 1-844-859-3220 or visit seniorschoice.ca.
And our lives were meant to sell. Take a rest from our thoughts, take a break from this world, and we'll feel miles away from the places that we used to be.
Parrots are incredible animals.
Another overdue bill.
They're also extremely intelligent.
Forgot to pay again.
They also repeat things they hear a lot. The new BMO Eclipse Rise Visa card rewards you with points for paying your bill on time every month to help build a pay.
Reward you with points.
And you get 5 times the points on things like groceries, dining, recurring bill payments.
For paying your bill.
But also you get
Every month.
And just remember,
Mail the routine. Huh?
he is a talker.
Summer officially gets underway. Summer camps are preparing to handle potential measles cases. CTV's Allison Hurst is in Toronto following the story and has more, Allison, on how organizers are preparing for what's to come.
In just over 2 weeks' time, this summer camp is going to be filled with kids, but yes, there are new warnings from public health that staff here are preparing for. The latest numbers from the province are from the June 16th, and they were 2,118 confirmed measles cases. Summer camps are getting ready. The owner of this camp, Camp Robin Hood, parents provide their children's vaccine record ahead of camp so they know if anyone has not been vaccinated. Then, should there be any sort of outbreak, they're able to to provide the health unit with all the information required.
We just follow the direction of public health. We are very fortunate. We have 3 registered nurses. Our head of our health and wellness program here is a veteran nurse and camp person. So we're just putting all the systems in place so we can train our staff what to look for in terms of symptoms or anything that needs to go to the health center. We're encouraging parents to look for signs and symptoms. No different than what we went through with COVID. It really doesn't change. But safety and risk management is the priority of every camp. So we've just heightened our education and our training so we can really protect ourselves in the best way possible.
Camp gets underway on July 2nd here at Camp Robin Hood. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Yeah, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, sharks are back in the spotlight. It has been 50 years since the premiere of the original Jaws. Roy Schreider, there he is. We're going to have more in a moment. Stay with us.
Yes, Chef. All new. Monday at 10, 8 Mountain on CTV.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandkid arrives. And now that I've had some repairs of my own, I want to make sure they'll be protected. Which reminds me.
Welcome to Senior's Choice, the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. How can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quote for Canadian seniors life insurance, please.
If you're a Canadian resident aged 50 to 80, you can choose the right amount of coverage for you and your family up to $250,000. You can choose to apply over the phone now in just a few minutes with no medicals or blood tests needed, only a few health and lifestyle questions.
Okay, great.
You're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, you also get a 100% advance for terminal illness.
That's good to know.
Depending on the coverage you choose, it could be as little as $17.02 a month. That's just 56 cents a day.
That's cheaper than I thought. And that money can help with funeral costs or debts, or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
As you get older, it can feel like you have less choices. At Senior's Choice, we're here to help you have a say over your loved one's future. Senior's Choice are the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. Choose up to $250,000 of coverage. Choose peace of mind. Choose life with Senior's Choice.
He's going to be named after his grandpa.
To get a free, no-obligation quote, call one of our trusted insurance advisors today at 1-844-810-7424 or visit seniorschoice.ca.
We all have coping mechanisms. It can sometimes feel easier to ignore or hide a problem than to face it head on. But when the problem you're hiding is toenail fungus, you can't ignore it forever. It's a contagious infection. It won't go away alone. Isn't that right, doctor?
That's right, voiceover person. You need a prescription treatment.
Stop hiding your toenail fungus. Talk to your doctor about prescription treatments that can be applied to the nail.
50 years ago today, the world was introduced to an iconic shark, Jaws, leaving generations of people wondering whether it was safe to go back in the water and also triggering a whole lot of shark phobia.
And lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
Not good. There's Roy Schreider there with that big shark. It premiered on June the 20th, 1975, based on the Peter Benchley book from the year before. Over time, it would become one of the first summer blockbusters, brought in tons of money at the time. Director Steven Spielberg put on the map as well. Went on to spawn a lot of sequels. Some were okay, some not so great. A lot of people, though, terrified of swimming in the ocean as a result of Jaws. As I mentioned earlier on the show, I saw this movie when I was way too young.
Sorry for
fears. This is why I love coming on the show, is we get to do some therapy for you.
All right, so the effect that this film, we often talk about pop culture and the impact it can have on people, but, taking something like a shark, and I know the book was actually based on a sighting of a big shark, off the eastern seaboard in the United States, and the author remembered that story and then would later write Jaws, of course, taking a lot of dramatic license as well. What's your take?
I mean, sharks are charismatic. They're creatures that everybody pays attention to. If there's a shark in the water, everybody wants to look over the side of the boat and see it, or get to the part of the boat that is least likely to make them fall in the water. And other people want to swim with them. They want to get in the water as quickly as possible and experience that. And I've been to places where, you know, there's a chance you might get to see a big shark while you're swimming, and it just makes snorkeling or scuba diving or just swimming in the ocean a very different experience from swimming in Lake Ontario. There's something about the presence of those creatures that changes the nature of the entire ecosystem, and they're just majestic, wonderful creatures. I wouldn't want to fight with one, but I do like that they exist, and I do like having them in the water.
Right, and we know that there is apparently a record-breaking great white shark heading north, according to some of the folks who are tracking this. This is in recent news as well that we're looking at. This continues to make headlines because of this fascination, but also fear, Dan, of sharks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it doesn't have to happen very often for it to be a scary thing, but if it happens at all, it's terrifying. It's kind of like plane crashes. You know, when you get in a plane, that the odds are everything's going to be fine. But the fact that sometimes there are plane crashes makes flying in a plane scary, and for some people, it makes it a non-starter. Sharks are similar. I mean, around the world in 2024, there were 47 people that got bitten by a shark when there was nothing leading up to it. Just the shark, for whatever reason, bit them. And that's part of their biology, is that they see a mammal in the water, they go up and they bite it. And if it's what they expected, they finish the job. But when they bite a human, what tends to happen is that they say, oh, wait, that's not a sea lion. I actually didn't want to eat that. They swim away, leave it alone. But the poor person has been bitten by a shark, and they have big teeth. And so when it's a big shark and they do that one first bite, that can often be enough to create big problems. And one of the things that makes it high risk is how many people in the water, how much beach there is. And the United States, the center of population in the Western world, I would say, has the most shark bites of any nation in the world, because there's a lot of places you can go swimming where there are sharks. And so there's just a lot more opportunity for people to bump into them. And so of the 47 worldwide in last year, 28 of those were in the U.S., and that's by far the most of any other country.
I know that there was another recent incident, a 9-year-old girl in Florida who says, I didn't see anything coming, and the shark bit her hand off. But fortunately, they were able to restore the hand, well, not off, almost fully detached hand, and the doctors were able to save the hand. So you can understand why some of us, me, are still scared of sharks, even though I know, intellectually, that the chances of me ever being attacked by a shark are like infinitesimal.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's the thing about odds, right? The odds that you're going to be bitten by a shark are very small. And if you're in the ocean, they're significantly higher, but they're still very small. And if you're up in a place where there are sharks, well, they're even higher, but they're still pretty small. But the thing is that fear, I think that the key is to understand not everybody has to feel safe swimming with sharks. That's not the goal of sort of the outreach that biologists have been doing. The goal is to understand that sharks have a role in the ecosystem. They're part of what makes an ocean healthy. They're important, they're necessary, and they, like all wildlife, they demand our respect. If you get in a fight with a pelican, it's kind of funny. It makes for a good video. If you get in a fight with a shark, it's a whole different story. They have good weapons that have lasted them. I mean, sharks, I used to host a show called Daily Planet on Discovery. My co-host Zion Toms, her favorite thing to say was that sharks have been around longer than trees. And it's literally true. Sharks evolved earlier than trees evolved. And it's just such a successful body plan, such a great strategy for the open ocean and other ecosystems in the ocean, some shallow environments and others, that they have just been successful ever since. And they're a beautiful part of life on this planet, and the world is better for them.
And swimming pools are okay.
And swimming pools have far fewer sharks. Your odds of being bitten by a shark in a swimming pool, not zero, but pretty darn small.
Dan Riskin, thanks for this, Dan. Great to see you as always, my friend.
Good to see you. Enjoy the water.
CTV News science and technology expert Dan Riskin. All right, well, when the Toronto Indy takes place next month, Formula 4 racers for younger drivers will feature one teenager from Ajax, Ontario, just east of Toronto, making a name for himself out on the track. CTV's Andrew Case got into the passenger seat and has this report for us.
Before Mayor Dion Reen can take me for a spin around the track at Motorsports, I need a little help not only with my helmet, and getting into the race car is a delicate balancing act for the uninitiated.
And then slide into it like a bathtub. Put your feet first. I just turned 16. Okay, so do you have a license? No, not yet. What do you mean you have a license? I haven't had time to get a license yet, so my dad won't even let me back the car in the driveway.
But on the track, he puts his foot down and all I can do is hang on. Wade Hashi of Radical Canada says this British-made car is made for the track.
The fact that they're purebred race cars. They're built from the factory to be raced. They come from the factory race ready. For example, anti-lock brakes, traction control, power steering, they're all manual.
D'Honorine started racing in the F4 series last year. Formula 4 racing is an entry-level open-wheel category. On it, from Europe to North America, he's been racking up the wins.
You felt it, right? Need for Speed is what I love. And since I was a kid, I've liked cars and trucks, and I got into go-karting at a young age. I actually started a little bit late, so I got in at 10 years old, but I currently driver coach kids that start at 3 years old.
3 years old?
3 years old, and they're going like 40 kilometers an hour.
It is an expensive endeavor. At this level, it can cost over $1 million a year. It couldn't be done without sponsors. And Road to Racing, a Canadian motorsport foundation, is committed to eliminating financial barriers for emerging race car drivers. The Ajax native says 90% of preparation is done off the track, including simulation driving.
Stimulation driving.
To race in the heat.
It's a lot of gym training, right? We have to be fit, but we also have to last an hour being that fit. So we work on muscle density, muscle volume, right? So to be in a car, you have to be fit, but you have to last that hour doing the same time consistently within that 10, right? So it's constantly in the gym.
And sometimes the heat gets to the reporter, too.
The Honda Dealers Toronto Indy Radical Series takes place on July 19th, and that's where you can catch Mayor driving. And maybe one day he will be an F1 Formula Racer driver. Enrique Case, the Need for Speed, CTV News.
Thanks, Andrea. Coming up, Prime Minister Mark Carney meeting with Canada's premiers and the latest on the trade war that Donald Trump launched against Canada earlier this year. We'll have more in a moment. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Patty Levitt-Reed, and if you're a Canadian homeowner looking for retirement income solutions, consider reversing your thinking on reverse mortgages. I've spent most of my career educating people on how they can make their money work for them. With CHIP, you can access the value of your home in tax-free cash without having to sell it. And most importantly, there are no monthly mortgage payments required.
If you're 55 or older, call now for your free no-obligation CHIP reverse mortgage guide. With CHIP, you can get up to 55% of your home's value in tax-free cash. Take only what you need in a lump sum or over time, with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-833-753-2447.
Maybe it's time for you to consider CHIP too.
Call now for your free no-obligation guide. Call 1-833-753-2447. That's 1-833-753-CHIP. Or visit chip.ca. Call CHIP today and live retirement your way.
Check this out. The phone is the key.
Like you, the redesigned Tucson doesn't stop. You've got places to go and stories to tell. Sleeping like a baby.
Thank goodness for baby mode.
And with more than 9 out of 10 Tucsons sold in the last decade still on the road, WA keeps you going.
I had a list of things I wanted to get organized, because I was becoming a mom. So I just kind of want, my I's dotted and my T's crossed. And I want to know that if something were to happen to me, I have the right things in place. My name is Lynn, and I'm a Willful customer.
Making a will is easier than you think. Willful is Canada's most trusted way to create a legal will from the comfort of home without the cost or hassle of visiting a lawyer. Visit willful.co to start your will today. There's nothing like summer in New York City. Something new and unexpected always awaits. And when the plot twists, we can choose to embrace a new chapter.
Really sorry.
I'm gonna go now.
The best is yet to come.
All right, live pictures coming in right now from the capital, where it's just past 2:30 Eastern local time. We're waiting to hear from Prime Minister Mark Carney. He had a virtual meeting earlier today with Canada's premiers about Donald Trump's trade war against our country, and of course Ottawa announcing some new next steps in Canada's response to the U.S. with some new tariffs coming on U.S. steel and aluminum imports, all to try and protect some of the industries in our country. We're also trying to figure out whether there will be some kind of trade deal in the next 3 weeks or so between the United States and Canada. David McLaughlin is back with us. David, no stranger to international trade. He was the former chief of staff to a long-standing Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. David, good to see you on this Friday. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Todd. Good to see you.
Another meeting between Carney and the premiers. Your take on what's going on here, because there seems to be a lot of consultation going on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the point, Todd. It's exactly that. It is a lot of consultation because we're into this trade war, a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different dynamics happening. It's almost like the COVID pandemic days where the previous Prime Minister Trudeau met regularly with premiers, part of those meetings as Deputy Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, clerk in Manitoba. So it's a good, I think, step for the Prime Minister of the country to be meeting regularly with premiers. It's good for the Federation. What I think the Prime Minister is trying to do, of course, is update them. He is the lead for these trade conversations, so he needs to update premiers. But he's also trying to maintain momentum for his own measures, particularly Bill C-5, which will eliminate, go a long way towards eliminating internal trade barriers, and that means premiers and provinces and territories, and also getting these major projects built. So it's a two-way street, but I think we're going to see more of these kinds of meetings, not less.
We know that there's a proposed law. It's called C5. It's called, the One Canadian Economy Bill. The idea of trying to be able to speed up the process of some of these mega projects, build, baby, build, whether it's pipelines or infrastructure, whatever the case may be. Mark Carney says it's necessary for Canada to, stop thinking small time and start thinking big time. The House of Commons rises today, or is supposed to anyway, for their summer vacation. I'm curious whether you think this will pass. And there has been some criticism, David, as you know, that it's happening too quickly. Some Indigenous and environmental groups are saying, hold on, not so fast. How does this play out?
Well, I think it will pass. We'll see if they'll meet the timetable today or whether they, have to go into some extra sitting hours to do so. But this bill has the support of both the government and the official opposition. That's more than enough votes to pass it in the House of Commons, and I think it has broad public support. The public wants things done. Prime Minister won an electoral mandate of some consequence by saying, look, we have to get things done. We're in a hinge moment, as he put it. Things are different, and the country has to step up and get things done. So he has the public on his side, but as you say, Todd, he doesn't have every interest group on his side. In particular, he does not appear to have the full support of Indigenous First Nations. We do have a stake in this. Now, the Prime Minister's view on this and his stated position is, look, we'll consult. That is part of this bill. But we have been faced over the past decade with this kind of binary choice, zero sum. You either build or there's nothing happening. And I think the country and government's leaders want to get over that kind of dynamic, including many First Nations and many First Nation chiefs. But it's going to be a process to get through there, and it's not going to be automatic. So, yeah, it's a good point you raised. Let's see how it plays out.
And likely the Conservatives, David, would appear to support this.
Absolutely. I mean, this, Mr. Carney got some political success by kind of poaching, right, from some of the Conservative platform, whether it's eliminating the consumer carbon tax, but also saying, look, we have to get energy infrastructure built and new housing built, etc. So the Conservatives, they're not in a good place right now. It is a honeymoon for Mr. Carney and his government, but he's also, more importantly, he's doing things that are kind of in the Conservative wheelhouse. So they really can't oppose it without appearing, definitely out of touch and really out of sync with the moment. So, look, it's better for them to support and then maybe come back a little later and say, well, wait a second, we offered support, but you didn't get it done. It's putting marker down. But for right now, the running is in Mr. Carney's favor. Get the bill passed, get this thing in place, but then he really has to embark on those
Staff to then Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. Great to see you, David. Thanks as always for coming on CTV.
My pleasure, Todd. Take care.
Many Canadian border cities are seeing a marked decrease in cross-border traffic from the U.S. For example, Windsor, Ontario, there's now a unique collaboration trying to find ways to entice Americans, specifically from Detroit, just across the river, to come to Windsor. Listen to this.
Detroit and Windsor have been friends for about 150 years. This is just a reminder of that friendship.
The campaign highlights 40 Windsor businesses on a digital passport, also reminds Americans that a dollar goes a whole lot further in our country. It includes curated itineraries and exclusive local discounts. All right, we've got a stunning story from Quebec now, and you got to see to believe. CTV News has obtained dramatic video of what police say was a car theft. Extremely dangerous, reckless, it happened in broad daylight, and it happened in front of an elementary school. CTV's Olivia O'Malley has more for us.
The screech of tires and screams were the first noises witness Julius Beaumartin says he heard.
You don't expect those sounds on the street because it's a school zone. So you're like, why is this happening?
The sounds came from an alleged car theft, and the entire thing was caught on camera. It happened on Palm Avenue near St. Remy Street around 1:10 Monday afternoon. Police say the man in the safety vest is the delivery driver, adding that a man and woman tried to steal his vehicle while he was dropping off a package.
The deliveryman was aware of the thief, so he tried to intervene and restrain the woman. The suspect fled with the car. When he fled, he injured the deliveryman.
Police say 29-year-old Francis Lavoie was found under the St. Henry Bridge about an hour after the event. He was arrested and appeared in court Tuesday. Lavoie has been charged with multiple offenses, including hit and run causing injury, dangerous driving, and motor vehicle theft.
The woman is a 26-year-old woman. She was released on site and she will appear in court in August of this year.
In the chaos, a parked car was also hit. The vehicle belongs to Will Martin, who says he tried to intervene to protect his car he bought a month ago.
I watched it happen.
Damage to the car's front headlight and tire marks on the street are the only reminders from the event that happened days ago in front of this elementary school when children were in class.
Sugar,
Residents like Beaumont
sugar,
say it could have been
sugar.
much worse.
I mean, he could have just floored it, went through the fence.
Ooh, la, la.
Hit anybody.
After this incident, police are advising the public to never leave a car running, even if it's just a quick stop. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News.
All right, major international story we're tracking. Today is day 8 of the war between Israel and Iran, and the pressure is on Iran to agree to come to some kind of talks to negotiate over its nuclear program. The United Nations is reminding Iran it must abide by an international treaty that's aimed at global disarmament, otherwise known as the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Listen to this from the head of the UN.
The Non-Proliferation Treaty is the cornerstone of international security. Iran must respect it.
Israel says that Iran has and has long had ambitions to develop a nuclear weapon and has a covert program. Iran says that is not true. It's about having a domestic energy program using nuclear energy. The International Atomic Energy Agency is saying there is no evidence that Iran may or may not be developing nuclear weapons, but it has recently raised flags over what Iran may be doing covertly. Today, the United Nations Human Rights Council, and there was arguments there that Israel's attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran says anyway, is a violation of international laws. Listen to this.
Our peaceful nuclear facilities have also been targeted, despite they being under full monitoring of IAEA, and despite the fact that attacking such facilities are absolutely banned under international law.
The International Atomic Energy Agency says it's closely monitoring what's going on, but it also talks about the wider threats that could be posed here as Israel's strikes continue. Israel has said it will not tolerate nuclear weapons and will continue to strike different parts of Iran and its nuclear program until it is satisfied that that program has been dismantled. Listen to this, though, from the director of the International Agency for Atomic Energy.
I want to make it absolutely and completely clear
In case of an attack on the Bushehr nuclear power plant, a direct hit would result in a very high release of radioactivity to the environment.
This week-long war has been devastating for Iran. Its top military generals have been killed. Its top nuclear scientists have been killed. Its top intelligence officials have been killed. And its nuclear program has been set way back. The question is, will the United States get involved? Donald Trump has given Iran a 2-week deadline to come up with some kind of a deal. So far, the U.S. is not directly involved. There are a lot of Canadians, though, that are caught up in all of this. We know there are thousands of Canadians that are in Israel, thousands of Canadian citizens also in Iran, many of them trying to get out of harm's way, out of the conflict zone, a frightening experience. And there has been some criticism over how the Canadian government has handled or mishandled communicating with those people. Michelle Ferreri is my guest. She's a former Conservative MP who was representing the riding of Peterborough in Ontario. She at one point stranded in Israel but is now back home. Michelle, thanks so much for taking the time coming on the program with us here at CTV.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it.
So what happened? Give us a sense of what you went through here amid this. The conflict breaks out and bring us up to speed.
Yeah, thanks. I think the first thing people ask is, what were you doing there? I was there in a delegation, and I went a day early. So I arrived on June 12th. Obviously, when I arrived, I was told, yes, there's, conflict happening in Israel, but it's been fine since October 7th. And the delegation was assured it was fine. Obviously, on June 13th, Israel bombed Iran, and I was in a hotel in Jerusalem at the time. My first time hearing a siren, very, very jarring, and scary. Israelis actually are quite used to this. They were very calm. Listen, I think the story here is it is absolutely a shocking and nerve-wracking experience to be in a war zone. My concern is I was able to get safely home along with the 2 others that I was traveling with, because we had, contacts and we knew people, and we were very fortunate. We registered with Global Affairs, and the messaging I have right now is there are many people, 6,000 to be, over 6,000 in Israel, Canadians, many in Iran as well. I'm hearing from the families in Iran. Global Affairs is not doing their job. They're allocated upwards of almost $75 million to have resources on site in embassies to protect and serve Canadians who are abroad. Where are they? If that is their job, what are they doing? There's no communication. There's no evacuation plan. Communication did come out after Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand said that she was helping folks. We had seen nothing. I was registered. We had seen nothing of an evacuation plan, nothing. Basically, you're on your own. When I met other Canadians who had passed, we crossed over the border in Aqaba. We met other Canadians who were just appalled at the Canadian government's lack of communication and a plan. We've seen this multiple times before. We saw this with Afghanistan. We saw this on October 7th. That is their job. If the embassy is not there to protect Canadians and help them in a time of crisis, this being one of the most serious crises in our time, what is it they're doing, and what is that money being spent on? This is the same thing we've seen over and over again with many governments. And yes, I'm a former Conservative MP, but I don't care what your political affiliation is, whether you're Liberal, NDP, Conservative. Your job as government services is to serve the people. And we've seen this repeatedly over and over again, whether it's CRA, immigration. I saw this as an MP all the time. We pay taxes, we pay all of this money, but what do we get in return, especially when our lives are on the line?
Yeah, and I'm curious what you think might be the issue, because you rightly point out that it does seem, Michelle, that we do go through this. I mean, I cover it on the news when there's a crisis, that the Canadian government will say, yes, we're there to help, here's a phone number, reach out, and then very quickly you start to hear these stories about how I didn't hear anything from anybody, I didn't get a response, it felt like I was on my own, I'm scrambling. What do you think is the problem here?
I think it's bureaucracy, and I think it's lack of leadership. I think it's the same in anything, and I think anybody who's ever run a business or knows how anything runs, if you don't have key performance indicators, if you don't have expectations, but also if you don't have accountability put in place for what it is that you are supposed to do, then why would you do it? you know, and I think it comes down to a breakdown of a failed system. I'm sure there's people on the front line who care, that are human, that don't want this to happen. But the system is failing over and over again. And again, I go back to the simplest things of something like maybe you can't get your tax form, but then that bleeds into all the other departments. And in this instance, global affairs, where you are traveling abroad, whether it's Ukraine, China, Iran, Israel, wherever you are, it's the embassy's job to serve and protect you. And they're not doing that. And you know, what is the plan? Does anybody have a plan of how to get these Canadians out? Because the last text I had this morning when I landed safely in Toronto was, you are no longer, I'll pull it up for you, you are on your own. It says, a nationwide state of emergency is currently in effect in Israel. You should remain close to a bomb shelter or be prepared to shelter in a hardened structure away from windows in case air raid sirens activate. If you wish to leave Israel now, you do so at your own risk. For options, please consult our travel advice and advisories for Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. I received an email on Monday that said call during regular business hours. This is absurd. What are Canadians getting for the $75 million that is spent on embassies across this world to protect Canadian citizens?
Michelle Ferreri joining us. She's back home from Israel with her take, former Conservative MP from Ontario. Michelle, thanks for taking time for CTV, getting the word out. Much appreciated.
Thank you, and good luck to all the families, and reach out, don't stop reaching out, and I'm sure your loved ones will be home soon. The hardest part of all of this is the separation.
Absolutely. All right, we'll keep our eye on that story, bring you the latest as well. We thank Michelle for her time. You are watching CTV News Channel. We'll be right back.
Companies that made and sold asbestos products were sued in U.S. courts for hiding the dangers of asbestos cancers.
Many asbestos product manufacturers went bankrupt, and trust funds were set up to compensate victims without having to go to court.
At Miskin Law, we help Canadians get compensation from these trust funds.
And we're committed to getting justice for victims of mesothelioma. Trust us to fight for you. Call Miskin Law today.
Gold standard. Gold dust. Pot of gold, solid gold. Golden opportunity. Is it just me or is there some kind of
concerns. And the NBA Finals are going the distance as the Pacers face fourth, now seventh and deciding game. This will mark the first time the NBA championship has gone 7 since 2016. The showdown is all set for this Sunday night in Oklahoma City. All right, I'm Todd Vanderbeek. Coming up, the latest from House of Commons, live pictures coming in from Ottawa now. Members of Parliament are debating what's known as Bill C-5. This is what Mark Carney, Prime Minister, has called his nation-building bill about getting things done quicker, cutting through red tape, but it's raising some concerns by Indigenous leaders. The bill is expected to pass, but there's fierce debate. Should point out that MPs are on the verge of their summer break as of the end of today. CTV's Gunners is up next with that.
Monday on Your Morning, back to work. Production is expected to resume at Windsor Assembly Plant ahead of schedule, but how long will it last? Start your morning with us Monday only on CTV.
Gold standard. Gold dust. Hot. Gold. Solid. Gold. And worth the weight in gold. Golden boy, golden girl, golden goose, golden egg, golden age, golden ticket, golden opportunity. Is it just me or is there some kind of clue here?
One day, maybe, but not right now. When your result really matters, choose Clear Blue Digital Ultra Early with Smart Guard technology, an exclusive combination of features, and over 99% accurate. Clear Blue for clear digital results.
Imagine this is your retinol. The minute you open it, it starts to degrade. Elizabeth Arden Retinol plus HPR Saccharide capsules are sealed to keep light and air out, so the retinol is always at its freshest, visibly improving the look of lines and wrinkles in 7 days. Elizabeth Arden, the smarter retinol.
Are you looking for a walk-in tub for you or someone you love? Well, look no further. A safe-step walk-in tub is the best in its class. The Ultra Love Easy Step helps keep you safe from having to climb over those high-rolling tubs, allowing you to age gracefully in the home you love. Now, for a limited time, when you purchase your brand new Safe Step walk-in tub, you'll receive a free safety package. And if you call today, you'll also receive $1,500 off your entire order. Yes, $1,500 off. Now, you can enjoy the best of both worlds. The therapeutic benefits of a warm, soothing bath that can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and even improve sleep. Or, if you prefer, you can take a refreshing shower with our stand-up shower package. Call today and receive a free safety package, plus $1,500 off.
Canada's quest for continental continues on TSN and the final shots of the world-class championship before the historic Gold Cup. Witness the dream CONCACAF Gold Cup on TSN.
I'm grateful that the conservatives saw the light to support Bill C-5.
We're hopeful, but we do remain skeptical that Bill C-5 can fully solve the problem.
MPs voted on one party's controversial One Canadian Economy bill ahead of summer recess. RCMP in Alberta confirming 2 people killed in a rock slide in Banff National Park. 3 others taken to hospital. The local officials are trying to determine if any other hikers are still missing.
Kumusta mga kabisaya? Di ay akit na po po gamay no unja. And happy Friday everyone. Maadong buntag, Pilipinas karon. Isabay pumakaw, nagkapin na ba? Ito na po po. So, amping og kaon ha di magpaguto. Ako diri karon sa Canada. Nagluto ko og tadaan!
Members of Parliament are
Saan na ni?
debating Bill
Asa na
C-5.
yung niluto? Ang mga
Minister Carney has
tadaan!
called this his nation-building bill, but he's turned off
Pares de
Indigenous leaders.
gulay.
Members of
Nagluto Nagluto ko og
Two separate
Bicol
votes after
Express.
the House Speaker ruled the legislation has
Yun
two
tayo
distinct
kaon,
parts.
di ba?
Votes are expected to pass, but this is
Thank
getting
you for
some
watching.
fierce
Bye-bye
debate.
for now. Follow for more.
It
Take care,
cuts
everyone.
environmental protections, undermines workers, and threatens indigenous rights. This bill will end up in court. Why is this government violating democratic values and risking critical economic projects by tactics from Donald Trump's playbook?
The Honorable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there is lots of support in this country for this brilliant piece of legislation that will create one economy, not 13, will move us towards creating great national projects that will create jobs. And I would invite the leader, I know he will stand with me and with the men and women in Canada's labor movement who have stood up day after day after day after day to support this legislation.
And once the bill passes, Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to speak to reporters. He'll also talk about his virtual meeting with First Ministers today. Prime Minister's news conference is scheduled for 5:15 Eastern Time, and we'll have it for you power play right here on CTV News Channel and ctvnews.ca. Let's talk a little bit more about the meeting and the so-called nation-building bill with Regan Watts. He is a conservative strategist and founder of the Fratton Park Incorporated. Regan, thanks so much for your time. Let's start with the nation-building bill.
Hello, kumusta mga kabisaya? So, ting pamahaw na diha karon for sure, unsa ting paniudto na pud kuon sunod. Happy eating anyway and happy watching this. So, salamat sa mga katuloy na pagsubaybay o sa So, this video is nagluto ko og
Canadian support for this piece of legislation. Yes, there's some issues with respect to First Nations that will be discussed and I'm sure eventually hammered out. But Prime Minister Carney won an election, and he won an election in part because of his commitment to get things built and to build, baby, build, I think is what Prime Minister Carney said during the campaign. And so the public voted for it, and they won it, and much to Mr. Davies' chagrin, the NDP interim leader, this is nothing like Trump at all. This is just Mr. Carney, I think, using the tools of government and legislation very effectively to get projects moving and to get the country going.
How about this meeting with the Prime Minister and First Ministers? Your take on that?
Well, it's pretty clear, Scott, that we now have an adult back in the Prime Minister's office. I mean, the long national nightmare with Justin Trudeau is well and truly over. The Prime Minister is doing what he, over the course of his career, has done best, which is to try and bring people together, and he's done that in a variety of jobs in different capacities. There's obviously things happening on the Canada-US front that he wants to brief his First Ministers on. They've met, I think, 5 times by my count since he became Prime Minister back in March when he won the Liberal leadership. And so I think this is just responsible behavior from a Prime Minister who understands that he is the chief executive of the country, and he's taking steps to make sure that his stakeholders are looped in and on the same page with these issues. And of course, there's the announcements yesterday around steel and aluminum, but there's obviously other things that are going on in the background with Washington and the United States government and the Trump administration. And I think Mr. Carney is doing the right thing and bringing his First Ministers together for a call.
So, happy cooking everyone! Sa mga nagluto diha, o kinsa mga So, happy cooking everyone! O kinsa may mga nagluto diha karon sa Diyos sa Bundang sa Pilipinas. So, kumusta? Hello, I'm going to take care everyone. Remember always that health is
Well, I think there's a couple of things in that, Scott. First is Mr. Carney is an experienced business person and central banker. He also has time in government when he was a public servant at the Department of Finance. He understands that in order to move government, and I use that term in the broadest possible sense, sometimes bookends or bookmarks or deadlines are enough to move the system to getting things done. Clearly, he believes that the 30-day deadline is a realistic option because he set a deadline for potential increases in retaliatory tariffs on the Americans. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, he clearly has a positive working relationship with President Trump, and that's by President Trump's own admission, but also the Prime Minister's. And so, over the next few weeks, and we'll see how it goes, I suspect that these deadlines will help move these files along. And remember, we didn't really have a government in this country for the first 6 months either. So as the Prime Minister gets down to business with his team, and you see Conservatives who I think are doing the right thing in supporting government legislation.
Hello, kumusta everyone? Sa mga bago pa himata
I think
o sa mga
you're seeing a government that is in
control and continues to move things forward.
Regan Watts is a conservative strategist and founder of Fratton Park Incorporated. Regan, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend.
You as well. The live is now at Banff National Park in Alberta. Emergency crews still combing the area after a deadly rock slide yesterday near the Bow Glacier of Banff National Park. At this point, at least 2 people are confirmed dead and 3 others injured. Pretty terrifying stuff. This is video of the rock slide near Bow Glacier Falls in the national park. The massive slide lasted for about a minute and came crashing down on an area popular for outdoor activities. 3 people were taken to hospital and are in stable condition. Officials don't believe any additional people are missing, but they're asking anyone with a loved one who was hiking in the area and maybe unaccounted for to contact them to help with their continued search to see if there were any more people involved. Inspectors from Environment Canada are on the scene today investigating as many as 8 possible tornadoes in southeastern and central Saskatchewan. These videos taken in southern Saskatchewan, the severe storms caused significant damage. We have images of at least 1 home with roof damage and grain bins strewn all about the area. There are no reports of any significant injuries. There likely won't be any confirmation on the possible tornadoes until potentially later today. For more, let's bring in CTV's Kamo Karamali. So Kamo, tell us more about these possible tornadoes in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, you can see the videos, you can see the pictures, quite shocking there, Scott, but the reason, as you mentioned, they're being called likely impossible tornadoes is because they can't be confirmed until meteorologists from Environment Canada are on the ground and able to deduce what in fact tornadoes, and so that is the protocol that they have to go with before they can say these tornadoes are confirmed. But you can see from the videos that these are pretty much tornadoes, and Environment Canada will likely be able to confirm that later today or even tomorrow. But as of Friday morning, the latest we heard, Environment Canada had said no twisters have been confirmed yet, but they are tracking several dangerous rotating thunderstorms through the province late Thursday, and they did say this: all indicators point to numerous highly probable tornado events. So almost saying it's a guarantee without saying it is a guarantee. And all of this taking place late afternoon, early evening, between 4:20 and 9:10 p.m. Tornadoes touch down throughout southern Saskatchewan. We're talking about at least a couple that touched down just south of Saskatoon, and we know of at least 6 that were in the eastern portion, just east of Regina, should I say, northeast and southeast of Regina. So without getting too into the weeds of exactly some of the nuances of the rural areas of Saskatchewan, I can just generally say that they showed up in southern Saskatchewan, a couple of them just south of Saskatoon, and a handful, half a dozen, just east of Regina. Shows how
mini restaurant dira sa atin sa mga kilid-kilid. Kupanin mo no, atong pinapulan. Ngadto ka sa Tiangge, pamalingki, palit, daghan pa o maluto. Daghan pa mahinga.
Events and even some snow in higher elevations in Alberta and BC, and
today's video, everyone, nagluto po
and then out here where we are in Toronto and southern Ontario, parts of Quebec, a major heat wave set to hit on Sunday and really peak on Monday and last through to Tuesday. With temperatures will be in the low to mid 30s for at least 3 days. And temperatures could hit above 35 degrees on Monday with a humidex of 45 degrees. That just sounds really hot, really sweltering. Have a listen to what Environment Canada has to say about warning the public about dealing with that level of heat.
It's the first heat wave of the year. That's always the worst. You always see more emergency room people coming in there because they're not acclimatized to it. They're just not
used to it. They haven't sort of gotten ready for the hot season. So, but it's upon us, and I think there's going to be a certain element of society that are pretty happy about it. And so the usual warnings going out to the public from the province and municipalities: stay indoors if you can, stay cool, turn that air condition on, and stay hydrated. Scott, I know you'll be inside our cool newsroom, even though we are wearing a pretty sweltering hot suits. I know we'll be cool and inside as well.
Yeah, if it gets up to 40 plus, stay close to an air conditioner if possible. Good advice, those warnings as well. Kyle, thanks so much for that.
You're welcome.
And a possible tornado in eastern Quebec as high winds tore roofs, causing damage and leaving tens of thousands of people in the dark last night. Here's viewer video taken in Danville in the eastern townships, about 2.5-hour drive from Montreal.
Uy, yun dyan. Diyan na po po. Balik na po ko sa inyo mga wall. Dyan. Nag-crave mo? Gusto mo mga ano, pero napulan mo ulo to. Hindi. Dyan nagising tinapulan ka. Pag tinapulan ka na, ayun, dyan nag-ablo. Kanang dilata. Okay, dilata ko dito. Madyan ang dilata ka. Taas na. Acid, no? So, sa pagpupoy na, paano na pagpupoy na kilid. Nakasabot ako sa kanino. Anyway, I'm not discriminating for that.
Well, the latest is
So,
some
kaya
good
ko,
news,
kung
which
kung
that
kaon,
part of this
ako
province
din
has been waiting a number of days for. The evacuation has been lifted, so a lot of residents were moved to the neighboring community of Grand Falls, Windsor, set up in the hockey arena there. And just hours ago, they were told that it is safe enough for them to return to their homes. Now, there's been a lot of contributions from the volunteer fire departments in the surrounding communities, the fire department of Grand Falls, Windsor, but Mother Nature as well. Now, I am 4.5 hours away in St. John's. We do have crews on the ground in Badger who are currently going through the media moves of what is happening right now. Will be available a little bit later with some visuals from there as well. But in terms of that Mother Nature, the winds that came down, calmed themselves down through the overnight, and some much needed rain coming through as well. And we couple that with the hard work of those fire departments by both land and air has brought us to the situation right now where that is still out of control in terms of an active wildfire, but in control enough to allow those residents to return home.
All right, that's CTV's Ryan Harding reporting from St. John's, Newfoundland. Ryan, thanks so much for that. In Saskatchewan, there are 20 wildfires, 3 of which are not contained. The province says of the 266 fires so far this year, as many as 30 of them are being investigated. So far, 2 arson charges have been laid by RCMP for fires that forced multiple evacuations. The province is on track to have one of its worst fire seasons ever. 2023 saw 493 fires.
This includes ensuring that medical staff are able to return to the community, that hydro is up and running, that law enforcement has been able to be reestablished, and that schools are cleaned and ready to receive students.
Flin Flon is one of the several communities where people are going home as mandatory evacuation orders are lifted. The number of wildfires remains unchanged at 21, with 7 still considered out of control. Officials caution lightning strikes, however, could spark more fires in the near future. Could logging companies help mitigate wildfire risk? That's the question a BC watchdog is answering after a 2-year investigation into forestry practices. As CTV's Penny Daflos reports, there are some roadblocks despite a desire to cooperate.
It's one of BC's earliest industries, and now BC's independent forestry watchdog says changes to some logging practices could help reduce wildfires near communities.
It affects everybody in BC, this kind of risk that we have.
The Forest Practices Board spent 2 years scrutinizing tree harvesting in 3 areas of the province. They found a catch-22. Piling and burning branches and other tree debris could reduce wildfire risk, but companies are only allowed to burn slash piles when smoke won't impact nearby residents. Some piles can sit for years, adding to the risk.
We need the public to support this kind of good burning and getting rid of the material. We know that industry operating in the zone is one of the best ways to reduce the hazard around the community.
It's a public safety matter, so industry is keen to be part of the solution, but at the same time, we can't do it in a way that endangers companies' financial health.
British Columbia's forest industry is facing big challenges right now, namely planned increases to softwood lumber duties and an investigation into forest products from the U.S. Operators point out provincial regulations aren't helping their situation. They say paying companies to prioritize reducing wildfire risk could be an option.
We think that we can do things in a way that is taking care of the environment, that is balancing social objectives. So that includes First Nation reconciliation and forest fire management.
Forest
And
firing.
the forest industry to continue to provide high-paying jobs.
The solution comes from collaboration.
The Ministry of Forests tells CTV News they're reviewing the report and that they have some new initiatives that may address the recommendations. A final note, more than 1 million British Columbians live in communities facing high or extreme wildfire risk. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
And a live look now at Tel Aviv, where it is the start of the weekend. As you might expect, forces are on high alert in both Israel and Iran. The two countries have spent more than a week firing missiles back and forth at each other, forcing people on the ground to run to bomb shelters. Israel is now waiting to hear from the Americans on what they're planning to do. U.S. President Donald Trump says he'll make a decision on whether to take military action within 2 weeks. An increased diplomatic push happening right now as well. We'll have the very latest after a short break. Stay with us. You're watching CTV News Channel.
Yes, Chef. All new. Monday at 10 Mountain on CTV.
The wild is calling. Beyond Wild is prey-inspired high-protein nutrition that awakens the wild within. Beyond Wild, answer the call of the wild.
Gold standard. Gold dust. Pot of gold. Solid. Gold. Golden opportunity. Is it just me, or is there some kind of clue here?
I'm a simple man, but now that I'm in my 50s, sometimes I feel like I don't have a lot of choices. But one thing I can choose is how to look after my family if anything happens to me.
Welcome to Senior's Choice, the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. How can I help?
I like a quick quote, please.
If you're a Canadian resident aged 50 to 80, you can choose the right amount of coverage for you and your family up to $250,000.
Wow, that kind of money would make a real difference.
You can choose to apply over the phone now in just a few minutes with no medicals or blood tests needed, only a few health and lifestyle questions.
Okay, that's great.
Depending on the coverage you choose, it could be as little as $17.02 a month. That's just 56 cents a day.
That's less than I thought. And that money could help cover my funeral costs, settle debts, or help my wife with retirement planning. I'll do it. And now that that's done, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To get a free, no-obligation quote, call one of our trusted insurance advisors today at 1-844-838-8422 or visit seniorschoice.ca.
Black Friday is back at the Brick. Friday, 5 p.m. till midnight. Get 65% off sofas when you buy the matching love seat or chair and free local delivery. Plus, take 4 years to pay with no interest. The Brick, saving you more.
Allergy symptoms. You feel terrible. You look terrible. Your nose drips like a faucet. You can't stop itching and clawing at your eyes. Everyone around you thinks you're contagious, so you're constantly explaining they're just allergies. Thankfully, there's Reactin. It acts fast and lasts 24 hours. Reactin. Serious about allergies.
To breaking news now, measles cases are climbing in Alberta. It is now the second province in this country after Ontario to register more than 1,000 measles cases this year. 24 new cases confirmed today, 14 of them in the northern health zone and 9 in
Edmonton 7 missiles case? Holy moly.
1,020. Alberta's routine immunization
Oh,
schedule
no.
recommends children get a first dose at 12 months and a second dose at 18 months. Taking you back to the volatile situation in the Middle East. Another live look at Tel Aviv at this
Hi,
summit.
James.
Middle
Hi,
East has
James.
been at the
Jacob.
center of
Hello.
global attention this week after Israel
Hello.
fired
Good
missiles
afternoon
into
to you,
Iran,
sir. How are you?
that country's nuclear program. U.S. President Donald Trump has
Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate that.
taking military action, including possibly dropping a so-called bunker buster bomb. Nuclear site that's deep inside a mountain in Iran. He says he'll make a decision within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks. Thank you, sir, James Jacobs.
It must not
How are you?
nuclear weapons. That is the purpose of Israel's action. To save itself from the Iranian threat of annihilation. But by doing so, we're saving many, many others.
That was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing the media in front of the Weizmann Institute of Science. It was struck by Iranian missiles Sunday. The institution says damages to the facility could potentially set its scientific research back by years. Israel had repeatedly targeted Iranian nuclear scientists in past years, and its efforts set back the country's nuclear program. Okay, for more on this, joining us now is Mark Kansian, retired Marine Colonel and Senior Advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Relations. Thanks so much for joining us on CTV News Channel. I want to start with the diplomatic push. We're seeing an increased presence of diplomacy, attempts at it at least. Do you feel there's a chance at an off-ramp to de-escalate this showdown?
Well, we all hope that might be the case, but it doesn't look very encouraging. The Iranians have made it clear they don't want to give up their nuclear program. The Israelis are pushing to overthrow the Iranian regime. Not clear that there's a lot of common ground. Still, the United States and President Trump would like to see what diplomacy can do before he makes a decision about U.S. military intervention.
You mentioned the lines the two are standing on. Iran doesn't want to give up its nuclear program. Israel, wanting to get rid of it for its own safety and security. How would you characterize the current state of the Israel-Iran conflict?
Well, it's in a long-term run here. Every day they launch missiles at each other. The Israelis use their aircraft to strike targets in Iran. Israel's trying to both reduce the nuclear capability of Iran and destabilize the Iranian regime by attacking officials. Iranians are trying to strike back, put Israel under enough pressure and hardship that Israel might be willing to call off their airstrikes. Doesn't seem to be any let up, although the numbers of missiles being fired has gone down.
And your thoughts on U.S. President Trump's 2-week negotiating window, or 2 weeks to come to a decision on whether the U.S. wants to unleash the so-called bunker buster bomb and become involved? And what do you make of U.S. military involvement overall?
Well, the United States is involved in the sense that it is providing defense to Israel. It's shooting down Iranian missiles with aircraft and with some air defense systems on the ground in Israel. The question is whether the United States conducts offensive operations, and it's certainly in a position to do so. The United States has moved more ships into the area. It's moving aircraft around the world. It's clearly ready to intervene if necessary. There's a debate in the White House about whether the United States should do that. One group wants to take out the Iranian nuclear program. Another group doesn't want to be involved at all. My guess is that the first group will prevail, although the president wants to wait 2 weeks to see if diplomacy can find a way out.
Mark Kansian, retired Marine Colonel and Senior Advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thanks so much for your time and insight on this today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Let's take a live look now at a volcano erupting in the Hawaiian Islands. This is the Kilauea volcano. It started erupting early today. It's been one of the most active volcanoes in the Hawaiian Islands. Today's eruption sent lava spewing some 300 meters into the air. Pretty spectacular to see. Unfortunately, no injuries have been reported. Just a stunning visual, seeing that lava shooting into the air. CTV News Channel continues after a short break. Stay with us.
I can clean your teeth, but what about the rest of your mouth?
Yes, we're toothbrushes, not mouth brushes.
Listerine works with brushing to reduce plaque and reaches your whole mouth to deliver 5 times more cleaning power. Listerine, wash your mouth.
I'm a simple man. Friends, family, and hockey. But now that I'm in my 50s,
Friends, family, and hockey.
But one thing I can choose is how to look after my family if anything happens to me.
Welcome to Senior's Choice, the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. How can I help?
I'd like a quick quote, please.
If you're a Canadian resident aged 50 to 80, You can choose the right amount of coverage for you and your family, up to $250,000.
Wow, that kind of money would make a real difference.
You can choose to apply over the phone now in just a few minutes, with no medicals or blood tests needed, only a few health and lifestyle questions.
Okay, that's great.
You're covered for the whole of your life. Plus, you also get a 100% advance for terminal illness.
That's good to know.
Depending on the coverage you choose, it could be as little as $17.02 a month. That's just 56 cents a day.
That's less than I thought. And that money could help cover my funeral costs, settle debts, or help my wife with retirement planning. I'll do it.
As you get older, it can feel like you have less choices. At Seniors Choice, we're here to help you have a say over your loved one's future. Seniors Choice are the #1 direct choice for Canadians over 50. Choose up to $250,000 of coverage. Choose peace of mind. Choose life with Seniors Choice.
Senior's Choice give me genuine peace of mind. And now that that's done, I can get on with something much more interesting.
To get a free, no-obligation quote, call one of our trusted insurance advisors today at 1-844-880-5439 or visit seniorschoice.ca.
You're done.
It's ending. We've got Twizzlers left. Twizzlers, keep the fun going. Another season? Let's go.
Manitoba RCMP are investigating a double homicide in the community of Victoria Beach. That's about an hour and a half north of Winnipeg. Powerview RCMP received a report about a possible shooting around 2 this morning. When officers arrived, they found the bodies of 2 people. One, a 29-year-old man from Winnipeg. The second, a 41-year-old woman from Victoria Beach. Police believe the murderers were targeted and are searching for a suspect who they believe could have fled the scene in a white truck. Still ahead, debate continues in the House on the Prime Minister's nation-building bill. We'll have the very latest on that coming up next.
Hi, I'm Patty Levitt-Reed, and if you're a Canadian homeowner looking for retirement income solutions, consider reversing your thinking on reverse mortgages. I've spent most of my career educating people on how they can make their money work for them. With CHIP, you can access the value of your home in tax-free cash without having to sell it. And most importantly, there are no monthly mortgage payments required.
If you are 55 or older, call now for your free no-obligation CHIP reverse mortgage guide. With CHIP, you can get up to 55% of your home's value in tax-free cash. Take only what you need in a lump sum or over time, with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-833-753-2447.
Maybe it's time for you to consider CHIP too.
Call now for your free no-obligation guide. Call 1-833-753-2447. That's 1-833-753-CHIP or visit chip.ca. Call CHIP today and live retirement your way.
Bumps. We don't tend to talk about them, but 1 in 2 of them might get hemorrhoids. Itchy, swollen pains in the behind. Sound familiar? Use Anusol Plus to soothe itching, reduce swelling, and relieve pain. And for cleansing, try Anusol Wipes.
100 years. It's a story written by Canadians. And at the 100 Years in Canada event, we're honoring our deep roots with employee pricing on most Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram models. You pay what we pay with up to $8,500 in total incentives for the 2025 Jeep Wrangler. And you can also get employee pricing on the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee, Canada's most awarded SUV ever. Because for 100 years, you didn't just ride along, you drove us.
Gold standard. Gold dust. Pot of gold. Solid gold. Golden opportunity. Is it just me or is there some kind of clue here?
Some kind of glue here. Okay.
You thought you outsmarted the odds, but you didn't calculate us. We're randoms, hanging out in the algorithm, shaking things up, keeping it unexpected, making things a little unpredictable. So before you bet more than you can afford to lose, remember, random is always in play.
nation-building bill, but it's really turned off Indigenous leaders. Members of Parliament will hold two separate votes after the House Speaker ruled the legislation has two distinct parts. The bill is expected to pass, but not everyone supports it.
This legislation is an abomination, and one that will be a stain on the reputation of this government and of our Prime Minister. As a first effort to lead this country, it's a bad effort, and I'm very, very sad to say this legislation could be improved if it had been studied at all, if the voices that had been silenced had been heard.
So-called nation-building bill, but drawing some sharp criticism. Joining us now, CTV's Jeremy Sharon. Jeremy, let's start with the nation-building bill. What are we expecting in the House this afternoon?
Yeah, Scott, this bill has been debated, or is being debated in the House of Commons throughout the day today, and is continuing to be debated. What we know is that the House will sit until this bill is voted on and passes through the House of Commons. That is the commitment that was made. It will be the last order of business for MPs and the House, as it will adjourn for the summer after this issue is dealt with, if you will. But we've seen, as you just heard, some pushback specifically to this part of the bill, because the bill is kind of split in two, and it'll be that way for the vote as well. Part of it is specifically focused on getting rid of federal barriers to interprovincial trade. There has not been much pushback or opposition to that. That part of the bill is pretty unanimously supported, or well regarded at least. And then the other part of it is fast-tracking these nation-building projects, which we've heard this government talk about over and over again. There has been some criticism. There has been some pushback on this part of the bill. Amendments have been made, including today through the debate period, and that continues to happen. Minister Freeland was asked today about her backing of this bill, why she feels it is important, in the context of her having also resigned her position in the previous government. So here's a little more of that exchange today.
I did what needed to be done in December. It was a hard thing to do, but it was the right thing to do for our party and for our country. I was very proud in the past election to campaign under the banner of our new Prime Minister. To be advancing legislation which will do what I said in my resignation letter we needed to do, and that is build Canada in response to the U.S. tariffs.
So, Scott, that is the kind of debate we've seen repeatedly throughout the House of Commons today, pushback from opposition parties. The big concern here that the NDP has raised and that the Conservatives have pushed in terms of some of the amendments to this bill is around talk with Indigenous groups and considerations for Indigenous groups as the process moves forward here. The whole idea of this bill is to expedite the approvals process and ensure that these big nation-building projects, as we keep hearing, can be approved a lot faster than they normally would. It can take several years, upwards of 4 years sometimes. The point is to ensure that some of these projects can go through a single approval process rather than multiple to allow them to happen faster. But there is concern about whether or not there will be enough consultation with Indigenous groups, or if this is a way to avoid as much scrutiny and consultation from Indigenous groups. So that has been some of the pushback. We know that Indigenous groups themselves have been pushing back as well. Some environmental groups too. Those will be some of the challenges that this government will continue to face, even if or when this bill passes. They will see, some pushback if and when we see some of these big projects go through and try and be fast-tracked.
And Jeremy, while we have you, the Prime Minister also met with premiers today. I want to get your thoughts on the goal of that virtual gathering.
Yeah, that's likely a meeting, and I don't know for sure. Obviously, I wasn't in the meeting. We'll hear from the Prime Minister a little later today, and perhaps a little more insight on how that meeting went. But presumably that was an update on partially this bill, and a portion of it which directly will impact the provinces, getting rid of federal barriers to interprovincial trade, but also likely the Prime Minister following through on kind of a pledge that he's made to the premiers, which is to keep them updated on negotiations with Donald Trump and the United States in the face of these tariffs. He's met repeatedly with premiers from across the country throughout this process. He did so prior to the election and has told the premiers that that's something he'll continue to do. We saw yesterday that he announced that he could be by July 21st or on July 21st be making some adjustments to Canada's counter tariffs, specifically on steel and aluminum, in response to Donald Trump back in June, or a few months back now, increasing the tariffs from 25% to 50%. And so what we know is that is hinging on progress being made at the negotiation table with Donald Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney. The two at the G7 summit agreed on a 30-day timeline to get a deal done. That deadline is the 21st. That's the same date the Prime Minister talked about yesterday in terms of adjusting those counter tariffs. So a bit of a negotiating tactic likely there that he is filling the premiers in on, likely giving them all of the information he has in terms of negotiations and the ongoing talks with the White House.
CTV's Jeremy Shaw with the very latest from Ottawa. Jeremy, thanks so much for this.
Anytime.
And more coming out of Ottawa. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be holding a news conference later this afternoon. He'll talk about that nation-building bill and his meeting with the premiers. That's coming up at 5:15 Eastern. We'll have it for you during Power Play right here on CTV News Channel and ctvnews.ca. U.S. President Donald Trump is speaking now on the Israel-Iran conflict. Let's listen into what he has to say.
Request right now, if somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens. What was the thought process behind 2 week timetable? Just time to see whether or not people come to their senses. Did the Europeans help at all in talking with Iran? No, they didn't help. No.
Hello.
Iran doesn't want to speak to Europe. They want to speak to us. Europe is not going to be able to help in this.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat
Hi, Han.
There was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today.
How are you? I just done cooking my menu.
It's a tremendous amount of material.
I just done cooking lunch. Because I'm not sure if Bon is coming. So unless he has something to come home. I didn't ask him though. But I think I will be here tonight. Not sure. How are you? Where are you? I can see you.
Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
This time here. One sec. I'll be there for you. Tagaw. Ganda naman ito. Beautiful farmhouse. Hampay, champay. Wow. Oh, no. Ganda ng bahay na to. Wow. Farmhouse. Grabe pala. Ta-da.